During trial, he told the court that the confession was false, claiming he was forced to confess by a drug lord. Today, Judge Kasim Musa postponed the matter after identifying discrepancies in the post-mortem reports of the deceased. Musa says it's in the interest of fairness and justice to delay the judgment until the discrepancies have been resolved.
The court noted that there was a challenge that it experienced in relation to the numbers on the post-mortem examination reports that were compiled for the 76 deceased persons.
13 illegal migrants have been arrested in a high-level operation targeting criminality and bylaw violations in the Joburg CBD today. The suspects were caught at a local butchery near the MTN taxi rank. Police arrested the migrants after they tried to evade arrest by hiding on top of fridges. Joburg Mayor Dada Morero says the operation forms part of a crackdown on illegal activities within the city. There's still a heavy police presence on several streets within the CBD, with officers working alongside Home Affairs to verify the status of some of the migrants. JMPD spokesperson Xolani Fihla.
And we also do understand that before we actually went to the MTN taxi rank and at the butchery, further 6 individuals were arrested for the contravention of the Immigration Act. So it's in total 6 plus 7, and definitely the operation will continue, not only checking for your status being in the country, but also compliance with the city bylaws.
The NPA has moved to clarify reports surrounding a prosecutor at the centre of a dramatic Mpumalanga court saga, insisting it never officially declared him missing. Mkhuseli Ndaba was found in contempt of court yesterday after failing to arrive for a high-profile bail application at the Kwaggafontein Magistrates Court. The matter against taxi tycoons Joe Ferrari Sibanyoni, Bafana Sindani and 2 others who faced extortion and money laundering charges was subsequently struck off the roll, with the court also issuing a warrant of arrest for Ndaba. Mongezi Koko has more.
The development sent shockwaves after the NPA confirmed it had been unable to reach or locate Ndaba following his failure to appear in court. The chief magistrate sided with arguments by the defence led by former NPA boss Sean Abrahams. The legal implications are significant, as a matter struck off the roll in these circumstances cannot simply resume in court but requires a fresh decision by the Director of Public Prosecutions to re-enroll it. NPA Special Director of Public Prosecutions Mthunzi Mhaga.
We have not been able to track him and speak to him. We have an unprecedented incident.
However, NPA spokesperson Kaiser Khanyago has since pushed back against the claims that the authority had formally treated Ndaba as a missing person.
The impression that he had disappeared, but that's not necessarily the case. But we will have to hear after the report is sent to us.
The NPA says internal processes are now underway as it prepares to receive a full explanation from Ndaba over his absence. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
Anti-apartheid activist Reverend Frank Chikane has told the TRC Cases Inquiry that a former apartheid police minister and former police commissioner approached him with regards to his poisoning, desperate to keep their foot soldiers out of jail. Chikane is testifying before the inquiry today, with his poisoning and the alleged cover-up of the crime taking centre stage today. The commission, led by retired Judge Sisi Gampepe, is probing delays in prosecuting apartheid-era crimes. Chikane survived a poisoning in 1989 while in Namibia, where his clothes were laced with a deadly nerve agent intended to induce a heart attack. Dimakato Lishoro reports.
Giving his evidence in chief, Reverend Frank Chikane has told the TRC Cases Inquiry that he endured severe trauma following torture and an attempt on his life where his clothes were laced with poison by apartheid-era security operatives. Chikane says he survived only because of his role at the time as Secretary General of the ACC.
I would have died in Namibia. What they didn't calculate is that we're going to stop and have breakfast and delayed. Whilst that chemical is working on you, delayed arriving where they thought I would die.
He told the inquiry that as he began digging for information and trying to piece together the tapestry of how he was poisoned, it became clear that former apartheid police officials were primarily focused on protecting their subordinates from prison. Dimakazo Leshoro, Eyewitness News in Newtown, Johannesburg.
And in Spain, police have arrested the eldest son of the founder of clothing empire Mango. Jonathan Andich was taken in by police in connection with his father's death during a hiking trip in December of 2024. Isaac Andich plunged to his death on the mountains near Barcelona while on that hiking trip. Investigators initially treated the death as an accident, with early findings suggesting that Isaac may have slipped. Investigators, along with prosecutors and the court, then reopened the investigation in October last year after citing inconsistencies in the son's testimony. Gold is trading at $4,543.94 an ounce. The rand is at 16.65 to the dollar, 22.32 to the pound, 19.35 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $110.37 a barrel.
On Durbanpoort, Pretoria, roadworks slowing down traffic N4 eastbound between Roslyn and Bravery Road. Hermanstad still in Tshwane. Traffic sluggish on Eskiam Pahlele. That's leaving the Pretoria CBD between Van der Hof and the R80.
And in your sport, Arsenal will be transfixed on the Vitality Stadium this evening as their title rivals Man City meet Bournemouth. This is after they picked up a 1-0 win over Burnley in the Premier League yesterday to open up a 5-point lead. The Springbok women announced their squad for the upcoming Rugby Africa Women's Cup, and 2 WBC belts set to be on the line in Riyadh come September.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 16 and 19 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, judgment in the case against the man accused of starting a fire at a building in the Joburg CBD in 2023, which killed 76 people, has been postponed to June.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
We're calling on Joburg to walk the inner city with us. In 702 Josie My Josie, walk the talk. Babize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Very good afternoon, everyone. It's 9 minutes past 3 on Tuesday, the 19th of May. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you are listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. How concerned should we be about the growing number of Ebola cases on our continent?
Early on Sunday, I declared a public health emergency of international concern over an epidemic of Ebola disease in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda.
That was the Director General of the WHO, Tedros Adhanom. Working closely with the World Health Organization on this disease is our own Professor Helen Rees. She's with us after 5 to talk about the global and continental implications and, of course, what has been the response. The Constitutional Court has been in the news over the past fortnight for making big decisions on Phala Phala and national health policy. But behind the imposing facade of the courtroom and the eminent judges in their green robes is growing concern that our apex court does not have the resources it needs to do its work as thoroughly as it should. Chris Oxtoby joins us from the organization Freedom Under Law. They've been looking at this. He's with us at 4:10. One of the highlights of every cricket summer is the New Year's Test at Newlands down in Cape Town, one of the most beautiful grounds in the world. Our national test captain, Themba Bavuma, certainly regards that ground as very special.
Edged, it's gone fine. Will it go for 4? Moeen Ali makes it 100. 100 for Themba Bavuma.
Themba Bavuma, you beauty.
That was where Themba Bavuma scored his first test century against England back in January 2016. England are touring again this summer. South African fans would be hoping to go there and see the captain or any of the other 10 players do something special as well. But when tickets went on sale yesterday, South African fans were in for a shock. Where did all the tickets go? Some people are saying there weren't any for sale at all. Cricket journalist Neil Manthorpe has been looking into it. He joins us for that story at 10 to 4. But if you're trying to book for the Newlands Test and you've got some experience of your own to share, please do drop me a note on 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. As we do every day, we'll talk about music in the last half hour of the show. Most days we try and talk about the positive energy we derive from the music that we love. But is there a song that can actually ruin your mood? Maybe this one. Yeah, one member of the team picked that as a song that they absolutely cannot stand. So send us the songs that are capable of ruining your mood and tell us why that is. And we promise not to play any of them. Well, no, we don't, actually. We might. But you can send them to 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. On the markets today, the All Share down by 300 points. Boxer has lost 5.5%. Pick and Pay is down by 3.4%. Mr. Price down by 2.4%. On the upside, Bytes is up by 4.1%. Alphaman and Process have both gained 3.3%. Rand is trading at 16 Rand 64 against the dollar, pretty much where it was yesterday. A euro will cost you 19 Rand and 34 cents. Small weakness over the last 24 hours. 22 Rand 32 will get you a pound. That's a 5-cent fall over the same time period. The oil price, talking of things that might ruin your mood, is up by $1.37, currently trading at $111.04 for a barrel of Brent crude. The gold price down by $24.15 an ounce. Platinum weaker too by $20.70. Stephen Curtis joining us with all the market news at 4:25. We'll have sport with Anthony Teixeira. Karabochali has the traffic news, and Mbali Dlamini joins us at 3:30 with the very latest news headlines. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live. If it's happening in 702 land, you'll hear about it here first. But there is stuff that you know about that we don't know much about. Perhaps it's something happening in your neighborhood. Perhaps your grapevine has sent you a particularly juicy piece of fruit. Send us, please, your SMSs, your WhatsApps, or give us a call if you've got something to add to the news agenda or a particular take on a story we might be covering but not completely on top of. Contact us on 072 702 1702 or give us a ring on 011 883 0702. 702 Drive, 14 minutes past 3.
702.
Let's walk the talk.
Of course, we'll do traffic in a moment with Karabochali. That means a lot of you are in your cars. And since you're in your car at the moment, here's a question for you. What do you keep in your car that other people might consider a little strange, odd, unusual? Doesn't really matter how you want to particularly label that. Something you keep in your car that maybe a lot of people don't. Give us a call on that on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. Jonathan Fairbairn, a very good afternoon to you. You drive a nice car, but maybe it houses some odd content.
Afternoon, John, and afternoon to our 702 family and our team. So I have a cricket bat in the boot of my car, and funnily enough, on Sunday we went out to meet some friends and arrived at the parking lot at the same time.
Okay.
And I wanted to get my jacket out of my boot and opened up the boot, and my mate who was standing there looked in my boot and he was like, "Oh, wow, what you got this in your boot for?" It was the Duncan Fernley cricket bat that I had when I was in matric.
Okay.
And he took it out, and I mean, the grip is all frayed and really, really shot to pieces. And he was like, "Wow, this is still so well linseed oiled, and I wonder if it would still hit cricket balls." So I don't know if it would still hit cricket balls or if it would break or snap, but he was really amazed by that. And he was like, "Why do you have it?" So I said, "Well, you know, in case one day I get into a little bit of trouble on the road, I'll just have to say to somebody, let me open my car door, run to my boot, open the boot and get my cricket bat. And then we can have a little interaction. So, yeah, I mean, that's the theory behind it. But
yeah, I mean, the problem with that is you get the bat, but then while you're putting on your pads, the chances of the guy decking you, I think, are really, really high. Because, you know.
Yeah, I'll probably be on the floor, the tar floor already by the time.
I always struggle to get my pads on with any kind of speed. So Jonathan Fairbairn drives around with a cricket bat in the boot, the grip a little bit old, but it's well oiled. But he himself is a little bit skeptical as to whether this really makes him any safer. Karabo Charlie, how about you? If we were to get a stop and search order and have a look inside your car, what would we find?
I've got a couple of things. First is a camp chair. So that's for in case maybe I'm visiting friends and or we're chilling at a park and maybe there's nowhere to sit.
Or school sports.
I'll always have a camp chair ready there. And the other one, I've got a couple of, you know those ice cream containers, the empty ice cream containers?
Yes.
So it's like a kaftin. So if I visit Bono for dinner and there's some leftovers, I'll be like, hey, Twaras kaftin, give me some so I can take home. So that I don't take his Tupperware because you know how Tupperware are, they never come back.
No, and and then friendships go the way of the missing item. But tell me this: do you go in with the ice cream box?
No. I don't. Yeah, no.
You don't make it that
I'll be
obvious.
like, oh, by the way, maybe John will be like, do you want me to give you some for home? I'll be like, yeah, don't worry about yours, kaftin. Let me go grab mine in the boot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Considerate, very well considered.
You even remember to wash it when it's finished. Put it back in the boot.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah.
So
you rotate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think I keep anything very interesting in my car, but when this thing came up, what we were going to chat about, I was reminded of a guy I worked with many, many years ago, and by legend, he was a guy who, because we got paid with checks, would take his check and cash it out and take his whole salary and put it in the boot for when he'd go. I mean, I guess he kept some back. Obviously, there was rent to pay and stuff like that. But he always kept a whole lot of money in the boot. So if you were out chorling with him and, you know, there was a plan, okay, let's move on and go somewhere else where there might be a cover charge or whatever, you say, hold on, just go to the boot and get a bit of extra cash there.
That's dangerous, though.
Those are the days, eh? Yeah. 702 Drive. Let's find out what's happening out on the roads. Let's hear what you keep in your car that might be a little unusual in other people's view, but makes complete sense to you. And even if it doesn't make any sense to you, tell us anyway. Karabo, how are we looking?
Well, at this stage in the city of Tshwane, on Dersteport, roadwork still slowing down traffic this afternoon. This is on the N4 eastbound between Roslyn and Bravery Road. In Hermanstad, traffic sluggish on Eskiam Pahlele between Van der Hof and the R80 in Northcliffe. Expect some delays on Beyers Nodia between Judges and the N1. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
Buyolwethu Zungula, the Phala issue. What is it that President Cyril Ramaphosa must answer for?
He must answer for having undeclared dollars to the tune of over $800,000. If I can come to your house and I see that you've got large stack of South African rands, I would think that you are involved in criminal activities. Therefore, as South Africans, we need to have that comfort to see that our head of state is not compromised and is not under any other influence.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Corporates that care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9 featuring RMB. The head corporate client coverage, Nana Piri, will be in conversation with Bongani Bingwa. And join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Prime Media Cares initiative with 702 and Prime Media Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
If you're CEO or CFO looking to grow across Africa, then the next 60 seconds are for you. Because in that short time, one bank in Africa will process over 300 million rand. That's 430 billion rand every day. Right now, we have 17.7 trillion rand of the continent's assets under custody management, making us far and away the largest bank by assets in Africa, which is why in 2025, we were voted Best Bank for Corporates in Africa at the Euro Money Awards for Excellence. So, if you're looking for a bank with scale, we're easy to find. We're in 21 key markets across Africa, and we've been on the continent for 163 years, so we are not going anywhere. Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Looking for a stylish SUV that fits your life and your budget? Barron's are offering the Volkswagen T-Cross Life from just $4,990 per month. Packed with smart tech, bold design, and the versatility to take you anywhere, from weekday commutes to weekend escapes. And right now, it's never been more accessible. $4,990 per month? Yes, really. Available for a limited time at Barron's Woodmead and Barron's Broomer. Barron's, the Volkswagen people.
Not every change feels like a choice. Some arrive as disruption. Shift Happens with Richard Sutton is a podcast about those moments where life moves first and you have to catch up. When certainty disappears, direction blurs, and everything familiar starts to shift. You'll hear stories from people who faced change, doubt, and pressure and found a way forward. Their stories give us confidence. Living vicariously through their experience gives us hope, and we learn from their journeys. Because what feels like an ending is often the beginning of something else. Shift Happens, weekly on primemediaplus.com, the Prime Media Plus app, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Powered by First Light, therapeutics for the modern mind.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
23 past 3, we're going to go to downtown Joburg in a moment, but just quick responses to some of what we've shared with you already today. We played Kabazela's choice of a song that ruins his mood, Anxiety by Dochi. Well, Vusani on the line from Mokhwase has a very different view. It says it picks me up and it picks up my kiddos' moods too. I was already dancing when you played that. So I guess one person's food is another person's audio poison, etc., etc. And then big thumbs up for Karabo Charlie and his ice cream scuff-tins at the ready, and says, I really like the ice cream container idea, says Mageshri. Very considerate guy.
Yeah,
Karabo Charlie,
definitely.
there we go. You have a small round of applause there for you. 24 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Well, earlier today, you may have heard our EWN colleague Jabulile Mbata talking about yet another operation carried out by city authorities targeting buildings suspected of criminal activities. They've also been trying to collect money that they say they are owed, and they've been demolishing illegal structures as well. It seems though they might have hit a legal snag, and Jabulile is with us now just to update us on that. Jabulile, I understand they were targeting a very particular building in the city. Tell us where they were going and tell us how come lawyers are now involved. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. So the building in question is Marble Towers. It's a 23-story building. So the building itself is not necessarily the problem, but the illegal structures that were built around it in the same yard for business people. So this is something that's not approved by the city, despite it being there, which is why now the city has gone to court, because the owners of that building structure have gone to court to, try to stop the city from demolishing these structures. So the matter was at the court today, at the High Court, while we were actually following the officials doing the rounds in Johannesburg CBD. But what we understand is that, it wasn't concluded, and only tomorrow will we hear what the verdict is, whether the city will be allowed to demolish these structures, or if the owners of these structures would have won and allowed to continue operating their businesses despite not having a building plan approved by the city, or having these structures, approved. So that's what we're waiting for. Tomorrow we'll continue following the story. So that's actually just what happened today.
Thanks very much, Jabulile. An important update, though. As soon as things go to the courts, it suggests that the response to the city has a degree of organization and potentially muscle behind it. So, important story. Any updates, look out for Jabulile contributing to the next EWN Bulletin, which is coming your way in the next 4 minutes. 26 minutes past 3.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Well, we are so used to being able to do everything that we think we need to do on the internet. Of course, some of it is essential and some of it is merely enjoyment. But when you find yourself faced with internet service providers not being able to do their job, well, we all get pretty unhappy. However, in this particular instance, it would seem that South African web hosts are the target of a deliberate extortion campaign. To find out more about this, who's doing it, and how this might affect services, we're joined by Duncan McLeod, regularly with us. He is the editor and founder of Tech Central, an excellent website where you can read up on all of these kinds of issues. Duncan, good afternoon, and thanks very much for giving us your time. Who is driving this particular set of attacks on our web hosts, South African web hosts, and why they're doing it? Good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon, John. Yeah, this is a very interesting story that's still very much in development. The attacks are happening as we speak. There is an organization that's claiming to call itself Black Matter that has attacked 5 South African telecommunications infrastructure and hosting companies, internet hosting companies. Black Matter was the name of a ransomware group that disappeared many years ago, and it's quite possible, in fact, likely even, that this isn't the real name of the attacking group. What we do know is that the scale of this attack, which is done in the form of what's called a distributed denial of service, or DDoS attack, where internet lines are flooded with junk for long periods of time.
Right.
Is happening at the sort of scale that only a very large cyber criminal group could do, or a nation-state government could do. So there's a lot of questions being asked about why this is happening. Now, there have been emails received by some of these hosting companies, if not all of them, demanding the payment of an amount of money in a cryptocurrency called Monero. That amount they're asking for converts into rands at an exchange rate, works out to about 16,000 rand per demand.
Goodness.
Which is a tiny amount of money, given the scale of chaos that these attackers are causing to South Africa's internet infrastructure at the moment. It's a discrepancy that is raising lots of questions and very few answers at this stage. This is clearly a very large group that is mounting this attack on South African internet infrastructure, but yet and the cost of mounting an attack like this is orders of magnitude higher than the amount of money that they are trying to extort from local hosting providers, which, according to the experts I've been speaking to all day today, are suggesting that there may be something more nefarious, more malicious at play here that we're not aware of yet.
Possibly a trial run of some kind?
That's one of the things that has been suggested to me, that there may be attempts to exfiltrate data going on, that this could in fact be an attempt to probe the infrastructure of South Africa's internet to see what's possible and what can be done. But it's costly to mount something like this, in the order of probably tens of thousands of US dollars per attack. So it's costing the attackers a lot of money to do this. We don't know where they're coming from. They're mounting it from servers across the world, so it's not coming from any single source. And again, as the absolute volume of this traffic, the junk traffic that's being flooded onto these networks, is far in excess of the actual capacity many of these companies have to the internet. So it's taking them offline, and unfortunately many South African websites have been offline or intermittently available for much of the day, including some major websites. I know News 24, for example, was offline for a while this morning because of these DDoS attacks.
Thank you so much. We'll watch it with considerable interest. But if you want to follow it closely in an ongoing way, head to the Tech Central website, TECHCENTRAL, Tech Central. That was the editor and founder, Duncan McLeod. Right, let's get the very latest eyewitness news with Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon to you, Mbali.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. The legal battle between the owners of the Marble Towers building in the Johannesburg CBD and the city of Joburg has been postponed to tomorrow. This after the city cut off water and electricity to the building over a 14 million rand debt. Yesterday, the owners filed an urgent interdict to try and stop the demolition of illegal structures in the building's yard. Today, while the team was in court, trucks and TLBs stood by at that site. Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero says the city also found people living in the same space where they work, which cannot be allowed to continue.
There are no plans, and even if there were to be plans, there's no way such structures can be approved as they are hazardous in their very nature.
Judgment is expected tomorrow after arguments were heard today. We take you now to another court story which contains some disturbing details. There's been another delay in the court case of the woman accused of beheading her sister. 63-year-old murder accuser Aletta Rose made a brief appearance in the Bellville Magistrates Court today. Rose was expected to bring a bail application, but instead requested an Afrikaans-speaking lawyer. Camry Clark reports.
Aletta Rose entered the courtroom and immediately objected to being filmed by the media before proceedings had begun. Her legal aid lawyer informed the court that her client did not want her as a legal representative and didn't want an interpreter. The court was further told that no instructions had been received regarding her bail application. Rose's bold speech and direct conduct drew attention in court. The son of the murder victim, Menno Rose, said her behavior was nothing more than a delay tactic.
I'm really quite surprised because that's not how I know my aunt.
The matter has been postponed to Thursday when Rose will appear via video link from Paulsmoor Prison to determine whether an Afrikaans-speaking legal representative has been secured for her. Camry Clark, Eyewitness News, the Bellville Magistrates Court.
And in Syria, police are investigating a car bombing in Damascus. It's understood one person was killed in the incident. The person is believed to have been a soldier. According to reports, a security source says the explosive was likely planted in a vehicle near a building affiliated with the Defense Ministry. AFP is currently reporting that a correspondent in the area heard an explosion before seeing a car burning near the building. Security forces have now cordoned off that area. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 16 and 19 degrees.
Hermanstad, Pretoria, leaving the Pretoria CBD. The slow-moving traffic on Eskom Phahlele between Van der Hof and the R80. While if you're leaving Sandton, also bumper traffic. This is on Greystone Drive between Rivonia Road and Catherine Street, and in Pasonia. There's traffic pressure on Kliprefir Drive between the N12 and Balaise due to faulty traffic lights.
The top story in EWN, the legal battle between the owners of the Marble Towers building in the Johannesburg CBD and the city of Joburg has now been postponed for judgment tomorrow.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
How important is it for bylaws to be enforced, particularly when we see what's going on in the Joburg CBD?
Bylaws simply means we are dealing with the issues that are there in the open. But then we've got these organizations from time to time when we go to court, they would want to challenge us. And then it makes you wonder, what is the intention of those organizations? Are they actually for the city or not? So we've said we want to proceed with the implementation of bylaws, but sadly we could not demolish Marble Towers. The court did not sit. We were told the court will be sit on Thursday, and I think we should be able to take it from there.
Stembiso Zungu.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
The 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk is calling on you to walk with the people for the people on Sunday 26 July. Babize bonke. And this year you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The 5-kilometer Victoria Yards route takes you from Ellis Park through the inspirational Joburg Cricket Club into Victoria Yards and past the Troyville Hotel. You then finish off at Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on the 5K, 8K or 15-kilometer walk, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
We at Monument Dental are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium when you switch? For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Out there? Oh, why would you want to go out there? Your job's out there. Traffic to get to your job's out there. The guy at your job who hasn't showered since your last job is out there. Winter living is designed for staying in, especially with Decofern's red-hot markdowns on our coziest furniture like armchairs and couches. Get loads of stock and speedy delivery now at your local Decofern or decofernsa.co.za.
In a world that is continuously evolving, Africa is adapting, innovating, and finding new pathways for growth. R&B Africa Focus is back for its 5th season to unpack the conversations shaping the continent right now. Every week on 702, award-winning journalist Crystal Alderson takes a closer look at influential economies and emerging opportunities across Africa, with insights from R&B experts and regional voices. Catch R&B Africa Focus Thursday on 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Make sure you watch the in-depth videos series with episodes released weekly on Prime Media Plus. RMB, a leading African corporate and investment bank.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hey, John. It's Leo here. In my car, I keep a jungle in Kasilingo. For you whiteys, you would call it a hunting knife.
Hi, John. It's Papa here from Linesia. I know that this might sound strange, but what I keep in my car, it's all my beloved obituary. Yes, the obituary of my beloved one that passed on. So I make sure that they are there in my carry-on. I don't know why, but I feel like their memories are with me. Papa from Linesia.
Hi, Dr. John. Thank you so much for the show. So I've got the nose trimmer, the nose shaver. So I have that because sometimes you get into the car, you look into the mirror, then you realize that you've got hair sticking out of your nose. So I've got that for in case I have those times where I need to just use it quickly. So yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting mix. And Papa, thank you. Something in your car that gives you a sense of connectedness to somebody you've lost. When I was asking about things that people keep in their cars, that wasn't the kind of thing that I had considered, but you've added a very interesting layer. So please keep them coming. Things you keep in your car that other people might think are unusual. It's 21 minutes to forward sports time.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, very good afternoon to you. Rassie Erasmus, another honour for him.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. That's right. Springbok head coach Rassie Erasmus was honoured by the presidency with the National Order of Ikamanga in gold. It recognises South African citizens who have excelled in the fields of arts, culture, literature, music, journalism and sport. The presidency noting he had propelled the Springboks to repeated Rugby World Cup successes and advanced social cohesion among South Africans. In football, Arsenal will firmly have their eyes fixed on the Vitality Stadium this evening when the Premier League title rivals Man City will be heading to Bournemouth. The Gunners did what they needed on Monday evening with a 1-0 win over Burnley, enough to see them move 5 points clear at the top of the table. And should the Sky Blues slip up and not pick up a victory, it would mean the Gunners have a first league win in 22 years. If reports in England are to be believed, Pep Guardiola will be taking charge of his penultimate match this evening with City. They've suggested that he's set to call time on a successful 10-year stay at the Etihad, which has seen him lead them to 20 trophies overall, as well as the coveted maiden UEFA Champions League title. One manager who certainly will be departing their club at the end of the season is Bournemouth's Adoni Areola. A win for the Cherries today would see them continue their quest for high-level European football and a first campaign in the Champions League.
Would be lovely for me. Would be the best way to finish these amazing 3 seasons because I think the team has been progressing, especially this year has been really challenging for me as a coach because we've changed a lot the team and would be the best way to end it.
Also this evening, relegation threatens. Spurs head to Stamford Bridge to meet Chelsea. And in boxing, WBC welterweight champion Ryan Garcia confirmed his next opponent is set to be Conor Benn. Both fighters have stellar records, with Garcia having lost just 3 of his bouts, with Benn having 1 loss in his column. He's been suspended, though, from the sport amid doping scandals for a year. It'll take place September 12th, the same night that Canelo defends his WBC superweight middleweight title. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Thank you, Anthony. EWN Traffic is brought to you by Sizekaya. The National Lottery's changing lanes and moving over to Sizekaya, your new official National Lottery operator from the 1st of June. Delays out in Onderstepoort. What's happening there?
Onderstepoort, John, yes, we still have roadworks. They're slowing down traffic on the N4 eastbound between Roslyn Road and Bravery Road. Still in Tshwane, Hermanstad, leaving the CBD. Traffic sluggish on Eskiam Patlelem between Van der Hof and the R80, while in Basonia. There's traffic pressure on Kliprivier Drive between the N12 and Palais due to faulty traffic lights in Sandton. If you're leaving the area, traffic congested on Greyston Drive between Rivonia Road and Catherine Street. And in Northcliffe, expect some delays on Beyers Nordium between Judges and the N1. For the latest traffic updates, you can also follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Something big is coming. You see, if you are tired of life never giving you a real chance, just know that your chance is coming. We've decided that if life isn't gonna give us bigger and better, then we're gonna give it to ourselves. We're also tired of the ones running this whole thing. Soon there'll be a takeover, a change, a chance. Like we said, something big is coming, and your chance to change your life is finally coming home with Sizekaya. Mzansi, a new chapter begins 1st of June 2026.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Unusual things you keep in your car, or at the very least things other people might consider unusual. Talent says, I'm always on the road, so I keep the following: serviettes, salt, pepper, toothpicks, lip balm, charger and power bank, spoon and fork. So clearly a certain amount of takeaways get eaten, and then the other practical stuff there. Anthony Teixeira, we have a warrant to search your car, but why don't we save you the trouble and you just tell us what you've got?
I mean, what I can tell you is I have a whole full wardrobe in terms of both for in case it gets cold and if it's going to be warm. I have shorts. I also have a tracksuit pants. I have multiple jackets. But the really weird thing I would say is 2 things. I have a towel in the boot.
Okay.
I don't have an umbrella, but I'm afraid of getting wet. So I have a towel to dry myself off, which I mean probably doesn't make sense in the long term. And the other thing is I have a green bouncy ball. And the reason why I've got the bouncy ball in the car is it's probably the only thing, it is actually, not probably, it is the only thing that I ever managed to get out of a claw machine. And so I want to keep it as long as possible.
Yes.
Because I feel like it's lucky. It is 100% lucky. And so hopefully it'll keep me safe on the roads.
How long ago did you defeat the overwhelming odds of a claw machine?
I think it was around sort of when we were coming out of lockdown. So when is that? Like 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did that. That was me.
Clearly. Who else? I mean, anyone else was not going to give it to you. I mean, because I think you may be the first person on the planet who's ever got something out of a claw
I
machine.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so give us a ring if you've managed to get something out of a claw machine other than a green bouncy ball. I'd be impressed to hear your tale of war. 072-702-1702, 3:45.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
The Midday Report at its heart is a current affairs show, but it really is a show about everything you need to know about and everything you didn't know you needed to know about. Our listener is sharp, plugged in, curious, has developed opinions, but is still open to learning new things. My favorite part is how witty, sharp, and funny our listener is. What we cover every day is breaking news, current affairs, politics, the courts, global developments, science, education, popular culture, sports, books, and of course, good things too. I like to think of it as a lunchbox with a little bit of everything. What I love about 702 Land is that it is full of energy. There's always something happening, a developing story to follow. But it's not parochial. The 702 family cares about what is happening in the world around them and how we plug into that.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener. Weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m.
702 Drive. Time for us now to tell you about the 26th of July and what we think you ought to be doing. 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk is calling on you to walk with the people for the people on Sunday, 26th July. Babize Bonke. And this year, you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The longest of these is a 15-kilometer Mandela Bridge route. You start off at Ellis Park, you go through the city, up to and through the Constitution Hill Precinct, down into Braamfontein, back over Mandela Bridge, and then it's through Newtown and past the Market Theatre and back to Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on 15 Ks, 5 or 8, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk. Hosted by the City of Johannesburg, we're going to see you there.
That's Amanda. Before she got naked. When the power tripped, Amanda felt more helpless than when her mom-in-law called her lasagna different. So Amanda got naked. She got car and home insurance at a lower premium and can now call an electrician anytime via the Naked app. There we go. Cover your car and home now at naked.insure and see how easy insurance can be when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
In business, missed deliveries cost more than money. Go Girl Logistics is South Africa's 100% black female-owned Level 1 Triple BEE powerhouse, delivering secure, time-sensitive transport for parcels, cold chain cargo, and compliance waste. With DG trained drivers, cold chain certification, national reach, and real-time tracking, every load is handled professionally, safely, and on time. Go Girl Logistics. Power beyond cargo. Visit gogirl-logistics.com.
It's 6 a.m. in Kenya. Victor's little sister starts high school today, but her fees need to be paid first. Back in Jozi, Victor logs onto the Absa banking app and sends her money and a little extra for lunch. It arrives instantly.
Your money makes their world go round. Send cash to 18 countries across the world with Absa Global Pay. It's safe, instant, and affordable. Your story matters. Absa is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
John Perlman
on 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Well, watching 5-day cricket is one of life's great pleasures in my view, but if you're a cricket fan from anywhere in the world, watching the New Year's Test at Newlands, generally perfect weather, an extraordinary setting, and in this particular case, South Africa up against one of the best countries in the world. By the way, it's the 3rd test in a 3-test series, so this could be the decider. The Newlands Test is on many people's bucket lists, but for many South Africans who are down on holiday, it's around New Year, so people are off work. This is a very, very special ticket to get. The problem is when people went online this week to try and get a ticket or two for themselves, family, friends, and so on, there weren't any. Not scarce, but absolutely none. So what's going on there? It is something of a puzzlement, but it's got a lot of cricket fans, judging by social media, seriously up in arms. Somebody who's been digging into this is someone well equipped to do so. Neil Manthorpe has been writing and commentating about cricket for a good number of years now, and he joins us now from Cape Town. Neil, a very good afternoon to you. I read your piece on the Business Day site and recommend it to anyone who wants to get more insight into this. Between then and now, have you managed to find out more? We Like You asked Cricket SA to join us on the show. We've had no luck, but perhaps you've managed to dig a little further.
Thanks, John. Good to chat. No, I've had no luck at all. Nobody has. And that's really, for me at the moment, the greatest source of frustration is that Cricket South Africa have now got a full complement of executives in every position, whereas a couple of years ago there was people missing from marketing and promotions and events, and now there's a full executive and nobody has commented. Nobody. If somebody came out and said, "Look, I think we overplayed our hand here. Look, we've overcommitted to corporates, sponsors, English tour travel companies, and we've got it wrong. We should have held back a couple of hundred or 500, even if it was a token gesture for local South Africans." But they've gone to ground. They've gone to ground. I mean, I've been digging into the whole pricing structure, and the irony is that English supporters are also up in arms because there's a bundling system in place, which so Cricket South Africa formed their own travel company, SA Cricket Travel, with in association with Tourvest, which is a Johannesburg-based travel agency, and English fans are now being given a situation where they if they want a ticket, they have got to buy for all 4 days, and it includes a hotel room and transport between their designated hotel and the ground. So they are now saying, we've got friends in Cape Town. We'd just like to buy a ticket for the second or the third day and stay privately, but they haven't been able to do that. So it's maximizing revenue, but it's being done in a really ham-fisted and clumsy way, which is alienating locals.
Yeah, and I've just been looking. I mean, you noted, and I thought I'd just follow up on on this point that you did add to your story, Neil, about how these tickets are now finding their way onto massively marked up secondary sites. So, for example, day one, and it's always great to be there for the very first ball and see the Test match taking shape. If you get a ticket on StubHub, you're in for 20,000 Rand, 19,750. I exaggerate. If you get one on Viagogo, sitting in a similar spot, you can pick up a bargain for just 18,000 Rand. I mean, this is insane. My understanding of the face value of these tickets, I picked up my own for the Wanderers Test. They're around $250.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, at least it's not Soccer World Cup.
Yes.
But it is. It's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, really, if you look at other iconic sporting events around the world, there are lots of ways to measure them. Broadcasting, advertising revenue, ticket sale, that kind of thing. But take the Wimbledon Championship, for example. They know the connection with local people who are less wealthy, so they have the People's Sunday in the middle of the tournament.
Right.
And they've got the Wimbledon Hill, where you can be part of the event. You can get in, and other iconic events have lotteries where they have whatever it is, 1,000 or 2,000 affordable tickets. Lord's Test matches do this, where they have they're affordably priced for the less wealthy, and you go into a lottery, and if you get lucky, then you're happy days. If you don't, well, you shrug your shoulders and
try
say,
next year.
I understand.
Yeah. I mean, Neil, I'm just trying to understand what the players might think about this. I mean, third test, we don't know what will happen in the first two, but it's likely there'll be a lot on the line. And Kagiso Rabada comes steaming in from which I don't know the ends anymore. If they still call the same thing, it doesn't really matter. And it's the first over of the first day, and he comes in with none of the, for example, the Wanderers roar, the bull ring behind him. I mean, whenever, and you've spoken to many, many more cricketers than I do, they never stop emphasizing the importance of a full house with most of it behind you. I mean, what are the players going to think of this? They can't be pleased.
No, they won't be, and it's the Kelvin Grove end and the Weinberg end.
Oh, thank you, as they always were, yeah.
Kagiso prefers the Kelvin Grove end.
Okay.
But So the England team have said for decades that their supporters are effectively a 12th man, that they raise their level of performance. And I mean, you know, if the ground is 95% full of England supporters, then of course it's going to have a detrimental effect on the players' performance. They all love playing at Newlands. So I think it'll be more a case of how much the England team is lifted rather than the South African team is deflated, because all sportsmen like to perform in front of a huge crowd, you know, a packed audience, as all performance artists do. But also, John, it's, you know, we've been a whole year without a test match. We're World Test champions, and it doesn't matter if it's a decider or not.
Yes.
Because of the World Test Championship, there are points available. Even if South Africa lose the first two tests, this will come on the back of having played Australia and Bangladesh. So, you know, the possibility of earning a victory at Newlands, which might be enough to get them back to Lords to defend their World Test Championship title, is massive. I mean, that's the beauty of having this tournament, as flawed as it is. It means that every test match matters. And I'm just sorry for the you know, I mean, you're 10 or 11 or 12, 13 years old. And you're in the Cape Town area, and you can't see a test match for 2 years. You know, that at that age, that's a kind of generational gap.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, to your point, I have a 10-year-old cricket-mad grandson who hasn't, whenever there's been one, missed a Newlands test match since I think he was about 4 or 5, and his insight into the game and knowledge has grown. Neil, just a last thing. Do we know how this would have been done? I mean, the mechanics, I mean, to whom do the tickets belong? Do they belong to Cricket South Africa, or do they belong to Newlands and the provincial entity that runs that stadium?
It's a CSA event. They're
Okay.
in charge of tickets. International matches. The host union. This happens all around the world. So you've got the Western Province Cricket Association, who run Newlands for the rest of the year, but for 10 days, for 5 days before the Test match starts and during the Test match, all of the operations are run by Cricket South Africa.
Okay.
So they are trying to maximise revenue, and as I said, they're doing it in a clumsy way, and they've alienated South Africans. And I just want to make the point again, John, that on previous England tours, it's been really hard for South Africans to get a ticket. And, you know, and there's been a sort of shrugging of the shoulders, and, well, the Barmy Army are coming over, and there's, you know, 5,000 or 6,000 of them, and they can all spend a lot of money, so it gives the economy a boost. I couldn't get a ticket this year, which is really disappointing. But those families that you refer to, and your grandson is amongst, you know, probably 1,000 Cape Townians who always have this pilgrimage to the New Year's Test match, and they queue. You know, it's one of those events where they'll queue overnight, or they'll sit in front of their laptop when the website goes live to make sure they get tickets. If you're one of those people that, you know, that will make a plan, will get tickets for the family, and they do, but this time you can't.
Yeah, there's a lot more we need to find out about this. Cricket South Africa, if any of you, your reps are listening out there, excuse me, I think an explanation is owed, and I would suggest the sooner the better. 702 Drive. Thank you, Neil Manthorpe.
I like building things.
Where small hands start imagining bigger worlds. Each block a new chance to try again.
We share what we learn, giving teachers the tools to help more children build, think, and grow. And through our toy libraries, play reaches children everywhere, opening more doors to learn.
We are play experts, helping children build possibilities as strong as the worlds they imagine.
One day I'll build something big.
Continents, play, engineered. Help us build brighter futures. Donate today at continents.org.
Moving to a bigger office space can be expensive. Thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I get to save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month. Plus, I get My Business Assist, which helps me with marketing, legal, and admin services. Saving money while growing my business is a great win for me.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your monthly premiums. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 today for a quote. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
Hello, Joburg. The City of Johannesburg Executive Mayor, Councillor Dada Morero, invites you to tune in for the live broadcast of the 2026 State of the City Address on Wednesday, 20 May. The address themed Building a Foundation for the Future. Your city, our city, will be broadcast at 2 p.m. on the city's social media platforms. Mayor Morero will reflect on the city's progress and outline a way forward where investment in rebuilding infrastructure, reclaiming the inner city, and improving service delivery is prioritized.
This is EWN.
KZN police disperse migrants who camped outside a local police station, and Usindiso building judgment postponed to June. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. KwaZulu-Natal police have dispersed a group of protesting migrants who blocked entry to Durban Central Police Station, demanding protection today. The protesters made up of spaza shop owners from across Durban say they fear for their lives in an atmosphere of sporadic demonstrations targeting undocumented migrants. They visited the police station yesterday, initially asking for shelter, and were given space to camp at Hoy Park, but today they forcefully prevented entry to the police station, saying they want police protection. Police spokesperson Robert Nechiwunda.
Then it reached a point where they were rebellious and they were saying that they would rather die in the hands of the police. They're not going anywhere. And as the police were to use minimum legal force to remove them from the station.
Nechiwunda says the protest also disrupted the daily functions of the police station.
And there have been people who turned back, thinking that police are under fire or the station is not accessible. But it's not the case.
Small Business Development Minister Stella Ndabeni has accused large retailers and illegal traders of standing in the way of local entrepreneurs in townships and rural areas. She says they've now come up with a new policy to counter the encroachment on the local market by supermarkets and illegal foreign-owned businesses, which will include more funding. Ndabeni was tabling her department's R3 billion budget in the National Assembly today, which focused on advancing economic transformation and developing small enterprises. Babalondenze reports.
The debate into the small business development budget heard how the country has more than 100,000 spaza shops valued at 200 billion rand annually. But Minister Stella Ndabeni says local markets and small businesses in the sector continue to be pushed out by bigger retailers and businesses operating illegally.
The competition from illegal foreign-owned businesses and large retailers and supermarkets encroaching on local markets. To support them, we have developed the Township and Rural Economic Development and Revitalization Policy.
ACTP leader Kenneth Meshwe says spaza shops contribute billions, but only a small portion is owned by locals.
Just 6% of spaza shops are believed to be owned by South Africans.
Ndabeni says the Small Business Development Department will target 1 million micro, small and medium enterprises to ease the cost of doing business. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Let's stay in Parliament, where Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe has come under pressure from political parties to speed up the restructuring of the fuel price as the global tensions send the price of oil soaring. Today, Mantashe told the House that a government visit to the Strait of Hormuz is necessary to understand the impact that the blockade on this waterway is having on fuel prices. The matter was addressed during a debate on the budget of his department today. Lindsay Dentlinger reports.
Minister Gwede Mantashe says despite the global turmoil and the high cost of it, there will be no shortage of fuel in the country. But he says the government should go see for itself what's causing the crisis.
We've undertaken to visit the Strait of Hormuz to see what is magic about this strait, a small passage of oil that destabilizes the world.
However, the EFF and Action SA have slammed the government's decision of more than a decade ago to sell strategic fuel stocks. Action SA MP Athol Trollip.
At a time when millions are already struggling with the cost of living, government has failed to cushion and secure our fuel reserves and cushion South Africans from rising fuel prices or to provide long-term energy certainty.
The ACDP's Wayne Thring says the fuel levies, which add more than R6 to the price of fuel per litre, must be reviewed to align with the lived realities and struggles of ordinary citizens. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And judgment in the case against the man accused of starting a fire at a building in the Joburg CBD in 2023, which killed 76 people, has been postponed to the 3rd of June. The Palm Ridge Magistrates Court was expected to deliver judgment today in the case against Thembiso Mdlalose. Mdlalose initially admitted to starting the blaze at the hijacked Usindiso building, but during trial he told the court that the confession was false, claiming he was forced to confess by a drug lord. Today, Judge Kasim Musa postponed the matter after identifying discrepancies in the post-mortem reports of the deceased. Musa says it's in the interest of fairness and justice to delay the judgment until those discrepancies have been resolved.
The court noted that there was a challenge that it experienced in relation to the numbers on the post-mortem examination reports that were compiled for the 76 deceased persons.
Gold is trading at $4,543.94 an ounce. The rand is at 16.70 to the dollar, 22.32 to the pound, 19.35 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $110.37 a barrel.
In Boksburg, heading towards Brakpan, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to roadworks. Basonia, traffic pressure on Kliprefir Drive between the N12 and Balaise due to faulty traffic lights. And in North Cliff, expect some delays on Beyers Nodia between Judges and the N1.
And in your sport, another honour for Springbok head coach Rassie Erasmus. Meanwhile, the Springbok women have announced their squad for the upcoming Rugby Africa Women's Cup. We have another battle at the bridge this evening in the Premier League, and the latest from the IPL meeting of the Rajasthan Royals and the Lucknow Super Giants.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 10 degrees, peaking at 18. Pretoria 12 and 18, and Vereeniging 6 and 17 degrees. The top story in EWN The Sawa, KZN police have dispersed a group of protesting migrants who blocked entry to the Durban police station, demanding protection.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy that connects us all.
That's what makes this one so special.
In 702, Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
702.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 4. Great to have you with us, whether you are, in fact, driving home or about to drive home, or you've been home for a while. Some of you, I know, listen to us at work, wherever you are, whatever you are doing while you're listening to us. We're delighted to have you with us. And, of course, if there are either stories we're not covering that you think we should, incidents that you've noticed or heard about that we haven't as yet picked up, any and all of the above and more, please do get in touch. 072 702 1702. We are live in the place where you live, but it's you who's living there, and you're in a unique and excellent position to pick up things that you can share with the rest of us. That number again, 072 702 1702. Covering some serious stories, a study done by the organization Freedom Under Law has taken a very close and detailed look at some of the challenges facing our constitutional court. Now, there have been many occasions, I'm sure, where you at some point have said, wow, thank goodness for the Concourt. And for some of you, it may have been the judgment on Phala Phala a little while ago. It might have been this week when they gave a key ruling on the National Health Act and the rules around the deployment of doctors. Should there be any such rules at all for private sector doctors? So we know the value of the court, but the court is taking what Freedom Under Law calls mounting institutional strain that threatens its ability to fulfill its constitutional role effectively. Take note of those words. It sounds serious. We'll find out how serious in a moment when we chat to Chris Oxtoby, who's a research consultant at Freedom Under Law. Later in the show, we'll be catching up on what some of the key economic developments taking place are in Namibia. Crystal Alderson, who many of you have got to know over the years, has been doing something which we call the RMB Africa Focus. He's looking very closely at our neighbor and some extremely interesting and exciting things happening in the country to our north and east. So, all of that coming up in the hour. And your comments, please. We asked you about unusual things you keep in your car. So we've got a good crop of voice notes. The bar's been set high from the previous ones we had. And then a very interesting conversation I had just before the 4 o'clock news with cricket writer and commentator Neil Manthorpe. And he was talking about the growing fury, I think it's fair to say, amongst South African cricket fans, but also fans in England, at what's happened to tickets for the Newlands Test. And by the way, the second test on Boxing Days at Centurion. I just went online earlier today to see if I could get tickets for that. All gone. There is some space on the grass, but in terms of a seat in a stand, hopefully with a little bit of shade, all gone. Not a ticket to be had as far as I can see online as well. And in regard to the Newlands Test, if you didn't hear this before, some of those tickets are now turning up on other websites that do massive markups like Viagogo. So tickets with a face value of probably 250, 300 Rand are going for 18,000 Rand. On StubHub, the same ticket is going for 20,000 Rand. If you're an England fan who can't get a ticket except by taking out a package to go to Cape Town, that's going to cost you 100,000 Rand. Yes, of course, your flights included accommodation and so on, but not everybody has that kind of money. And not everybody wants to travel that way. So we hope at some point to get Cricket South Africa to engage with us and tell us why they went that route. Yes, you look to maximize revenue up to a point, but at the expense of all South African cricket fans in Cape Town, that seems excessive. If, by the way, you try to get a Newlands ticket, let me know what your experience was. 702 drive numbers 072 702 1702, 12 minutes past 4.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Dr. John. I just wanted to find out, the buildings, like the one on number 8 Albert Street, where there was a disaster where a lot of people passed away because of the building was actually overcrowded and people had erected structures within the building and living in the building. Is the building also going to be subjected to demolition of those unapproved structures, including the fire station, the old fire station in the CBD? When is the mayor and his team preparing or planning to go and visit those buildings in order to bring them back to by-law condition again? Thank you. This is Buddy from Krugersdorp.
In my car, I keep a dream catcher, and that's to ward off any bad luck that I may have while driving, and a bulletproof vest on the driver's seat to stop whatever the dream catcher doesn't stop.
Hi, John. Spike again. John, I own a VW Golf. Two of the most essential things to keep in that car, that they're in my car at the moment, is 5 liters of water and a pint of synthetic oil. Those things, very, 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 very essential for that car. All the VW guys will know exactly why you have to keep all those things in there, because without those, you have a problem. Thank you, John. Spike here. Cheers.
Thanks. One more thing in the car. This comes from Len, who says, a certain brand of coffee with a name and surname is kept in my car boot, because there are times when I visit people and they only have chicory or brands of coffee I don't consume. So Len walks in. At least Karabo Charlie keeps his scuff tins in the boot until the moment is right. Len, I don't know if you know in advance who's going to serve you what coffee, or once the coffee comes out and the offer's been made of a hot drink, do you then just go back to your Come in with your own coffee. I think they see you coming, Len. You've probably done it before. Unusual things in your car, please. 072 702 1702. Speaking of cars.
EWN Traffic.
Karabo Charlie, how are we looking at the moment? Boksburg, from what I hear in our chat earlier, not so good.
Yeah, bumper traffic in the Boksburg area heading towards Brakpan, N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to ongoing roadworks. In Basonia, traffic pressure on Kliprefir Drive between the N12 and Balaise due to faulty traffic lights. While in Protea Glen, expect some delays on the R559, that's main road opposite GOG Gardens. In Sandton, heading towards Midrand, traffic congested M1 northbound from Ethel Oakland all the way to the Patlu interchange in Tshwane on Durstpoort. Roadworks are still slowing down traffic on the N4 eastbound between Roslyn and Bravery Road, and in Hermanstad leaving the Pretoria CBD. Traffic is a bit sluggish on Eskiam Pahlele between Van der Hof and the R80. To report any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
My show is about getting you informed by the time you get to the office, your place of business, or wherever you need to go. Hopefully, you have a fairly good idea what's happening in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and around the world. We want you to be part of those water cooler conversations, and you will be part of those conversations because you'll be a better informed citizen. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is the ecosystem that we have built, the community. It's all about connection because we may be different, but ultimately the people you talk to and the people you hear are facing issues just like you.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
Don't miss out on 20 Buck Tuesday at Food Lovers Market. Shop incredible deals like 2 100-gram beef burger patties for 20 Rand, 3 80-gram chicken drumsticks for 20 Rand, 3 100-gram okra sizzler for 20 Rand, nachi trays for 20 Rand each, and any 2 grapefruit, nachi, orange or lemon thrift packs for just 20 Rand. Valid this Tuesday only at all Inland Food Lovers Market stores.
Bar Black Sheep. Have you any wool? Yes, sir. More than 3 bags full. We think beyond today, tomorrow, more. Look up, look far ahead. We may choose to leave the herd. There's greener grass where fewer care to tread. Bar Black Sheep. Proof of what we do. Better for clients for over 20 years. Courage, we hold the course for you. Bar Black Sheep. If you want more wool, it takes Black Sheep thinking. Camissa Asset Management. Invest different. Camissa Asset Management is a licensed FSP.
It's another girl! Yes. Families multiply, fees shouldn't. With Ultimate Banking, you get support for every chapter. Get discounted banking for your spouse and give each of your children a head start with a Mega U account. Because as your family grows, your banking should keep up. Apply online. Your story matters. ABSA. Terms and conditions apply. ABSA is an authorized financial services provider.
Joburg is more than just a city. It's an energy, a pulse, and a feeling connecting everybody. The heart of Mzansi.
It's Joburg, you know?
In celebration of this, 702 has partnered with Jozi My Jozi, and we're calling on you to walk through the city center with us.
Walk the talk.
In the 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk. Babize bonke. On Sunday, 26 July, we're going to the iconic Joburg CBD, the home of dream creators and operators, where we dominate and history make. So join us and be a part of something special.
I'm ready to rock this book.
Because when Joburg walks together, extraordinary things happen. Enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for 702 Jozi My Jozi Walk the Talk this July, hosted by the City of Johannesburg. Walk with the people, for the people, for our Jozi. Babize bonke. Enter Walk the Talk now on primemediaplus.com.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Right, the Constitutional Court, often in the news and often in the news in ways that I think a lot of South Africans look at and say, well, they seem to be safeguarding very important aspects of our Constitution and creating pathways towards better things in our national life. However, the task they're facing, according to a report that's just been released, is a massive one. And they speak in this report of what they call, quote, mounting institutional strain. The report has been put together by Freedom Under Law, and Chris Oxtoby, my next guest, is a research consultant for that organization. Mr. Oxtoby, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. I mean, one of the things that we may perhaps kick off with, just to give people perspective. The number of applications filed at the Constitutional Court each year has more than tripled. Since 2010, they now receive close to 400 applications annually. Tell us what that workload entails. Presumably, an application doesn't necessarily lead to a hearing, but it's got to be dealt with, I would assume.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. Thanks for having me on. I mean, that's absolutely right, that the applications that come into the court don't necessarily translate to an actual hearing in front of judges, as people will have seen live streamed from the courts. But the court does have to consider it. So these will be cases that mostly have come up from courts lower down in the system. And they've got to the last stage, or the last appeal before the Constitutional Court has been turned down, and your last roll of the dice, you try and get an appeal to the Constitutional Court. I mean, the problem is in part coming in because up until about 10 years ago, the Constitutional Court, as its name suggests, only dealt with constitutional issues, but its jurisdiction then got expanded so that it's a broader, more general jurisdiction. And that really seems to have contributed to opening up floodgates of people trying to bring their cases before the court. And as you quite rightly say, the court may not end up deciding to grant leave to appeal, but it's still got to consider that. And that seems to be having a very serious impact on the court's capacity and workload.
Let's talk a little bit about has there been expansion of scope that, that things end up at the Constitutional Court that perhaps in the original framing of our Constitution and the conceptualizing as part of that of the court itself, they didn't really expect those cases would end up there. That, by the way, could be a good thing, but with some really difficult consequences.
Yes, exactly. I think the crucial part of that is the question of consequences. I mean, the idea of having a specialist constitutional court as opposed to a general appeal court, that, some countries go one way, some countries go the other way. The problem that we have is that we started off, when the court was first established, conceiving of it as a purely constitutional court that was going to deal with constitutional issues only. The Constitution's 17th Amendment then changed that and gave the court potentially expanded jurisdiction, where essentially the test that the court applies is whether it's in the interest of justice for it to consider an appeal on a more general point of law. The problem came about that when that change got introduced, nothing was done to increase the court's human resources capacity to deal with it. It didn't change the court's internal processes. So we now have those structure and systems that were developed for a much narrower jurisdiction and a smaller caseload are now what the court is having to use to try and deal with this much more expansive caseload. And that's really where the problems seem to be coming in.
Are you aware, Mr. Oxtoby, of the court itself blowing the whistle on any of this? I mean, obviously, the head of the Constitutional Court is the head of the judiciary, as I understand it, and we've always traditionally, and I think with Chief Justice Meyer as well, heard them speaking out in general on lack of resources and other issues of budget control and so on, but specifically on their own difficulties that you've set out in such detail. Are they fighting their own corner?
They've certainly blown the whistle on it. I mean, the impetus for the project that has ended up in this research report that you mentioned came about 2 years ago when the former Chief Justice Zondo instituted a program to try and use retired judges to help process some of these applications. And that scheme didn't last very long. But he did expressly mention that this was needed because there was such a huge increase in these applications coming in, and he made it very clear the court was struggling to deal with it. We think there are some things that the court can probably do to help expedite this. It can apply its test for granting leave to appeal perhaps in a different way, in a tighter way. It can introduce some restrictions on how long these applications are allowed to be.
Right.
But it may be that something more fundamental and structural is needed, in which case we may well be looking at constitutional amendments if we're changing size, composition of the court, etc. So I think it's a multifaceted approach. I think it's going to take some short-term measures that the court can probably introduce on its own, but it may well take some more medium to long-term measures where we're going to have to look at other branches of government stepping in to help them.
Is this? Do you have specific examples, whether they're in the report or just from your own observation of the court in action, where this is causing problems? Obviously, delays were very much focused on in regard to that Phala Phala report, which, when it did come out, it was quite clear immediately how consequential it was. Is there anything else beyond delays? I mean, do justices feel that maybe they're not getting to spend enough time on stuff?
I'm sure that if we spoke to constitutional court judges candidly, and they were able to speak openly, they would probably say that they don't have enough time. And there have been concerns for a while of people were worrying about whether the quality of the judgments that's coming out of the court are always where we would like it to be.
Right.
Now that one can debate that, but for example, there's been a lot of academic criticism of how the court's judgments in commercial law cases, which of course they wouldn't generally have received under the previous dispensation, and there've been concerns about how the court has dealt with that. Now that there can be a lot of factors that influence that, including the type of judges you appoint and what background and experience they have. But it may well be that as the court is just so overwhelmed with having to cope with all these sort of fresh applications, that it may start having an impact on the kind of judgments that come out and whether those judgments are as good as we and the court would like them to be. It's difficult to say that definitively, but I think it's definitely a concern that one has to take seriously.
Thanks so much, Chris Oxtoby, research consultant for Freedom Under Law. Very important study, I think, they've done. Obviously, as we look at the work of the Constitutional Court, we focus very much on matters they hear and judgments they arrive at. But the larger problem they're highlighting is that this is an institution facing significant institutional strain. And again, just to give you that number, they now receive close to 400 applications annually. And the average period between hearings and judgments has more than doubled over the past decade, while applications for leave to appeal often remain unresolved for months. So, something to sort out there. Maybe you've got some thoughts on how that can be done. 072 702 1702, 28 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Stephen Kritz, a very good afternoon to you. How are the markets today so far?
Afternoon, John. Yeah, so Brent crude still quite high, and that's really pushing things down a little bit. Gold and platinum both much lower as well, so none of that helping. The JSE All Share down 0.72%, 114,085 points. Financials down nearly 0.5%. Industrials up 1%, but resources down nearly 3%, down 2.77% on the day. ASP Isotopes is down 9%, but the story perhaps is really around Boxer. Boxer are down 6.5%. Pick n Pay were down quite significantly earlier today as well. That's after Pick n Pay said last night after trading closed they were selling around 11.5% of their shares in Boxer through an accelerated book build. It happened overnight. Pick n Pay held around 65% of Boxer, probably owns now around 54%. Pick n Pay were down, I think, partly because this is being read as a signal that Pick n Pay needs the money. So it's basically selling its sort of bits of its crown jewel, which is Boxer, to fund its turnaround. Was looking for 4.7 billion rand from the book build, and that's really pushed both of them down, and that's had a bit of an impact on Boxer today. And then we got gold and platinum prices down, so that's pushed Sibanye down 4.2, Anglo Gold down 4, Goldfields down nearly 3.5. All the way down, you start to see that. The Bytes Technology Group, based in the UK but listed here as well, up 4.77. Prosus up 4%, and Naspers up 4%. And then Alpha Min, they've won a big mining right in the Northern Cape. They won a court case around that. They're up 2.72%. And the PSG Finance also up nearly 2% on the day. The hospital group Netcare, they've announced their executive head for strategy and health policy, Melanie da Costa, taking over as CEO when Richard Friedland leaves. He's retiring at the end of the year. Netcare says da Costa is a chartered financial analyst, has 20 years' experience of executive management in the South African healthcare sector. In the US, a bit of a sell-off in heavyweight chip stocks, also concerns around inflation at the moment in the US, as you can imagine, because of higher oil prices. Treasury yields on treasury bonds still are rising, so that's also just a little bit of concern there. The Dow Jones down 0.41, the Nasdaq down 0.77, the S&P 500 down 0.5% at the moment. The gold price $4,505.96 an ounce, platinum $1,946.43 a barrel. Both of those are down significantly today. Brent crude $109.99, so call it 110 really. The rand taking a bit of strain through all of this, John, to the dollar 16.74, to the euro 19.43, to the British pound 22.41. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Let's get the very latest eyewitness news now from Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Well, the restoration of the Paarl Hospital is nearing completion months ahead of its schedule. The hospital was damaged after a devastating fire earlier this year. The Western Cape government says major infrastructure repairs have now been finalized in just 6 months, significantly quicker than the initial 12-month estimate. MEC for Health and Wellness, Muriel Wenga, has praised healthcare teams, contractors and support staff for ensuring services continued while the restoration work was underway. Government allocated 67 million rand to the project, and a number of outpatient and specialist services have now returned to the hospital. The remaining services are expected back in early June. Wenger says the focus has been not only to repair the building, but also on restoring access to healthcare for the Paarl community.
This work has always been about more than repairing a building. It is about restoring access to care and the health and dignity of every person who depends on Paarl Hospital. I want to thank the Paarl community, our patients and their families for their patience and support during this period.
One of the country's top infectious disease experts, Professor Tulia de Oliveira, says there is nothing to worry about regarding the hantavirus. Today, de Oliveira was awarded with the Gold Order of Mapungubwe during a national order ceremony at the Sefako Makgatho Presidential Guest House. The award was in recognition of his research and public education during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, with South Africa being one of the few countries in the world with a confirmed hantavirus case. De Oliveira says it's unlikely this will result in a COVID-19-like situation.
No, you have no reason to be worried about the hantavirus. Yeah, it's a difficult to transmit virus, and that's quite clear. So since the first case came and was hospitalized in South Africa, so we haven't seen almost no cases. So we are talking from a ship, a boat with very close contacts, less than 20 infections, and that shows that how difficult to transmit that virus.
While in Germany, health officials are preparing to admit and treat a U.S. doctor who contracted Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This comes after U.S. authorities requested assistance from the German government in treating the U.S. citizen. It's understood the doctor, who works in the DRC with his wife and children, contracted the virus following exposure related to his work. In Germany, there is a nationwide network of experts for the management and care of patients with such illnesses. The toll from the Ebola outbreak in the DRC has risen to an estimated 131 deaths from 513 suspected cases. The World Health Organization has declared the outbreak an international health emergency. A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 6 and 12 degrees and highs of between 17 and 18.
Boksburg heading towards Brakpan. You can still expect about a 20-minute delay. N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to ongoing roadworks. Pasonia, traffic pressure on Kliprefir Drive between the N12 and Belaise. This is due to faulty traffic lights. And if you're leaving Sandton, expect about a 20-minute delay on Greyston Drive from West Street all the way to Catherine Street.
The top story in EWN, the restoration of the Paarl Hospital is nearing completion months ahead of schedule after the hospital was damaged during a devastating fire earlier this year.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabota, 1 to 3 p.m.
What a bill actually is in relation to laws, especially for those of us that don't live the legal world. At a very basic level, how would you explain what a bill is?
Now, the bill contains actual enforceable legal rules. So it's going to say, what does this thing want to do and how does it want to achieve it? Usually the bill will start with a declaration, this is what we want to achieve, and then it's going to explain how that would typically happen.
Paul Moritz, director at Free SA.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabota.
Let's walk the talk.
The world's best male and female paddle players are coming to South Africa for the historic Premier Paddle Pretoria P1 at Sunbet Arena Times Square from 26 July to 2 August. Expect world-class action, unbelievable energy, live entertainment, premium hospitality, incredible food, and an atmosphere unlike anything South African sport has seen before. This is Africa's biggest paddle tournament ever, and tickets are selling fast. Don't miss your chance to witness the sport's biggest stars live in South Africa. Get your tickets now at primemediaplus.com.
Hello, Joburg. The city of Johannesburg Executive Mayor, Councillor Dada Morero, invites you to tune in for the live broadcast of the 2026 State of the City Address on Wednesday, 20 May. The address themed Building a Foundation for the Future. Your city, our city, will be broadcast at 2 p.m. on the city's social media platforms. Mayor Morero will reflect on the city's progress and outline a way forward where investment in rebuilding infrastructure, reclaiming the inner city, and improving service delivery is prioritized.
That's Fani before he got naked. Fani's insurance premium went up for no reason, irritating him more than when the boys ignored the really funny meme he posted in the group chat. What? So Fani got naked. He got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds on the Naked app. Go Fani. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, Brajon. It's Tapelo here. In my car, I keep an okapi and a fishing rod for in case if I find a fishing spot wherever I go, then I fish. That's me.
Sure. Interesting stuff people keep in their car. Thank you. I've really enjoyed those, and it's not too late to send us yours. 072 702 1702. It's now 22 minutes to 5. I think we should find out what's happening in the world of sport.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, Rassie Erasmus honoured in Pretoria today, but not at Loftus.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. That's right. Springbok head coach Rassie Erasmus was the recipient of the National Order of Vikamanga in gold by the presidency today. The honour was in recognition to his contribution to the national rugby landscape, with the presidency saying the inspirational leader raised the nation's esteem in the international community as well as advancing the country's social cohesion. Saturday will see the start of this year's edition of the Rugby Africa Women's Cup in Nairobi, Kenya. Four-time winners and defending champs, the Springbok women have a fresh look to them as they have 9 uncapped players in their ranks in the touring group. Meanwhile, Anati Kolo will be the stand-in captain. They start their campaign against Madagascar Saturday before facing off against Uganda and Kenya next week. Let's move now to some football action, where, of course, 10 years on from the Battle of the Bridge, which ended a Spurs push for the Premier League title and handed it to underdogs Leicester City. Another epic awaits at Stamford Bridge today. Only this time, it's not for silverware, but rather survival. Tottenham head to their London rivals Chelsea tonight, knowing that a win will see them remain in the English top flight at the expense of West Ham. Here's the North Londoners manager, Roberto De Zerbi.
Stamford Bridge is difficult. It's a tough stadium because the players of Chelsea in this last 30-25 season have been fantastic.
Meanwhile, we could see the title decided as Man City have a must-win at Bournemouth after Arsenal picked up a 1-0 win over Burnley last night. Here's manager Pep Guardiola.
We know our game. It's not a hand, but we cannot lose the Premier League because they don't win and we don't win. That just cannot happen. Let's win the game to arrive in the last chance, and after that, like it's no control, wait.
The earliest of those games will kick off at 8:30. Bafana Mbekazeli Mbokazi was named in the MSL Team of the Week after his Chicago Fire won 2-0 over Montreal this past weekend. Since making the switch to the US at the start of the year, the defender has become a mainstay in the team, playing 11 of Chicago's 13 league matches. In cricket, the Rajasthan Royals have sent the Lucknow Super Giants into bat first. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
At 19 minutes to 5, let's give you the very latest from what's happening out on the roads. Karabo Charlie, how are we looking?
Yes, John, at this stage, if you're leaving Santon, you can expect about a 20-minute delay. That's heading towards the M1 on Grayston Drive between West Street and Catherine Street in Melrose, traveling towards Midrand. Traffic is heavily congested on the M1 northbound from Athol Oaklands to the Pakru interchange. In Pasonia, traffic pressure on Kliprefir Drive between the N12 and Belez due to faulty traffic lights, while in Protea Glen, Soweto, expect some delays on the R559 main road. That's opposite GOG Gardens. In Ekurhuleni, Boksburg, traveling towards Brakpan, you can now expect more than a 20-minute delay on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to ongoing roadworks. On Dersteport, Pretoria, also roadworks slowing down traffic on the N4 eastbound between Roslyn and Bravery Road. Finally, Hermanstad leaving the Pretoria CBD, traffic sluggish on Eskiam Pahlele, that's between Van der Hof and the R80. For the latest traffic updates, you can also follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive at 18 minutes now to 5 o'clock. There are all these kind of international days that happen from time to time, and one of them really caught my eye. Today's International Family Doctor Day, which sort of celebrates a time when families, all had the same doctor, and I don't know if doctors made house calls and so on, but it raised a very interesting question for me. I mean, first of all, how would you describe your relationship with your doctor? Do you actually have a doctor, or do you maybe go to a clinic where you see different doctors at different times? Do you go as a family, or do you go as an individual? And what kind of relationship do you actually want? Some people like to get to know the doctor and would hope that they get to know them. Other people would prefer it to be perhaps at a little bit more of a distance, a bit more of an arm's length. And as doctors yourself, if there are some of you who are listening who would like to call in, I mean, what kind of relationships have you looked to create with your patients? I mean, I think it's a very, very important part of our lives. Hopefully, it's nice to be able to say, gee, I haven't seen you in ages, which may be a little bit different with an old school friend. But I think that's the ideal relationship with the doctors, when you don't see much of them. But it is a very important one. Anthony, I mean, growing up, did you have a kind of family doctor, or did you go to a health practice? I mean, and now, what are you after when you engage with a medical professional?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, we did have a family doctor. And when my dad passed away, he opened up his practice on the 1st of Jan to treat the entire family.
Sure.
We were all sitting there, and he was sort of making sure that everybody was okay. He gave sort of a comment to my grandmother, and it was a very nice interaction. It was a moment to just sort of acknowledge that everybody was going through grief, and to just have this medical practitioner there to sort of make sure that nobody was suffering too much. And since then, we've moved on to other doctors. And I must say, my doctor now, Dr. Peter Baxter, amazing guy. One of those where you can just go in and you can have a laugh, regardless of what's happening. And for me, laughing is usually quite important when you're going through something. So
the best medicine and all that.
100%. I watched Patch Adams as a child. And so it's very much a moment to sit down, and even if I am coughing and spewing and sort of suffering, we can have a laugh at my expense, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, interesting. And the guy who looked after your family in that incredibly painful time sounds absolutely amazing. Karabo doctors?
Yeah, growing up, we had a family doctor. Actually, he was more than just a family doctor. He was a family friend.
Okay.
I think they come from the same village with where my parents come from. So I believe he also attended their wedding. So he was just, he was a friend. And every time you went for consultation, you'll always have to catch up and have these long chats. How's school? How are your parents? I haven't seen them in a while. And I would be worried some other patients waiting.
I was going to say, well, the other patients are looking at their watches.
It's like, how long has this guy been in there? So, but
he looked perfectly healthy. He's been in there 45 minutes.
Yeah, no, he was a great guy. I wonder where he is now, because if I still lived in the Germiston Katlong area, I'd probably still be consulting with him.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so good experiences of engaging with doctors, very much in that kind of family doctor tradition. This is World Family Doctor Day, and I thought just an interesting time to talk about what kind of connections you look for when you engage with medical professionals. Maybe you want it very much on the medicine, straight professional, or do you actually enjoy having a degree of connection and even closeness with them? And doctors, please feel free and call in. I'd be interested to know if you feel your own job has changed over the years, and if so, in what way. We're going to find out more about Namibia a little bit later, in fact, shortly, but not before we've heard this.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
There's been chaos at a major butchery in the Joburg CBD, where Mayor Dada Morero is leading an operation to enforce the city's bylaws. Home Affairs officials have been inspecting the identity documents of employees in the shop this morning.
The butchery on Plain and Plain Street was temporarily closed this morning during the raid. Some people working in the shop dodged police by hiding on top of fridges, while others ran off into the back of the building.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
If your network provider was becoming too expensive, you'd switch, right? So why pay more for car insurance? Switching to Outsurance saved 30-year-old Dineo an unbelievable 1,094 Rand on her 2025 Kia Sonet. Get a quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Do it now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Doing your famous through meetings, in traffic, at the store. Don't let seasonal hay fever get in the way of a better you. Unite against allergies with Demazin once a day, providing 24-hour non-sedating relief from symptoms like a runny nose, sneezing, and itchy red eyes. Demazin gets it done. Speak to your pharmacist today about Demazin once a day.
Hello, Joburg. The city of Johannesburg Executive Mayor, Councillor Dada Morero, invites you to tune in for the live broadcast of the 2026 State of the City Address on Wednesday, 20 May. The address themed Building a Foundation for the Future. Your city, our city, will be broadcast at 2 p.m. on the city's social media platforms. Mayor Morero will reflect on the city's progress and outline a way forward where investment in rebuilding infrastructure, reclaiming the inner city and improving service delivery is prioritized.
702 Josie Walk the Talk is calling on you to walk with the people for the people on Sunday 26 July. Babize Bonke. And this year you can choose from 3 different inner city routes. The 8-kilometer 44 Main Street route takes you from Ellis Park through Maboneng and Jewel City, past the Field of Dreams and Maharishi Invincibility Institute. You then go through the Main Street precinct, Gandhi Square, and past the Carlton Centre, finishing off at Ellis Park. So whether you're taking on the 8K, 5K or 15-kilometer walk, enter now on primemediaplus.com and get ready for the 702 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk, hosted by the City of Johannesburg.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, at 11 minutes now to 5, RMB Africa Focus is brought to you by RMB, a leading African corporate and investment bank. Today, we focus on Namibia and why it's emerging as one of Africa's most closely watched economies. RMB Africa Focus is back for a 5th season to explore Africa's economic resilience and strategic role in global economies. Over the coming weeks, we'll look at several African countries and how they are sustaining momentum, unlocking opportunity, and positioning themselves in a continuously evolving global landscape. For decades, the narrative of African energy has been dominated by the established giants of Western North Africa. But now attention is turning to Namibia, where major offshore oil finds, green hydrogen ambitions, and renewed mining are reshaping the country's prospects. The primary catalyst for this shift is the frantic pace of offshore exploration in the Orange Basin. Economists say the Southern African sleeping giant is waking up. So, let's understand better what this moment could mean for Namibia, and welcome to 702 Drive once again, award-winning journalist Crystal Alderson. Crystal, a very good afternoon to you. Namibia, a country with less than 3 million people, but extraordinary economic shifts. Oil and gas front and center there in this conversation. What's happening in that regard? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John, and good to be back. So, John, I don't think we could have imagined that Namibia, the country next door to us, small population, beautiful country, that they are navigating these extraordinary economic times. So I think firstly, Namibia has always been known for its own commodities. We're talking here uranium, we're talking diamonds, we're talking agriculture, we're also talking some lithium that they have. But that's been but one part of it. And there's been a frantic pace of offshore exploration in the Orange Basin. So it began just as, like all prospecting happening across Africa several years ago. It finally, we saw companies actually putting money on the table, because what it is, John, it's a very ambitious engineering project. It's not just, it's deep sea. It's about 6 kilometers beneath the surface. So you actually need very deep pockets. And here's a country, John, with no prior history of oil production. And suddenly it's finding itself by having all these global operators that are there and committing to this massive capital expenditure. And here we're talking exploration wells, they say, for in these type of conditions, John, is around $100 million each. And so what we see now, the oil operators, they're saying, look, this investment is going to pay off, and we're actually putting money in. So what we see now, Namibia, our sleeping neighbor next door, John, is literally transforming into this major construction zone. And it's definitely going to impact on the country in terms of its own infrastructure, in terms of logistics and port facilities.
So let's stay with energy, but talk about something else, green hydrogen. You'll tell us what green hydrogen is. And then, having just put us in the picture, tell us what Namibia is doing in that particular space.
So, John, you need technology and you need money to develop green hydrogen. And so Namibia sort of stands out because of it has abundant wind and solar resources. And then it also it has renewables energy resources. And also it was one of the first countries where the African Development Bank actually put money on the table, and they approved a $10 million loan to a hydrogen energy company in Namibia. But to explain what exactly is happening in Namibia, I was in conversation with RMB's Angelique Peak. She's the oil and gas lead, and she explains the steps and why Namibia is the country for green hydrogen, John.
Yeah, and let's take a listen.
Yeah, it's an interesting question because the timing and the geopolitics have also changed that conversation.
quite dramatically over the last 2 to 3 years. So second pillar, I would say, is probably not quite going to be the case. 2, 3, 4 years ago, green hydrogen was definitely going to take over from fossil fuels in the world as one of the renewable energies, together with solar, wind, and other opportunities. But the geopolitics and the world have simply not gotten there. Technology is not quite there. Price discovery globally is not quite there yet. And then in Namibia itself, the oil and gas story has simply overtaken the conversation. So what has happened in Namibia is that the big green hydrogen project is most certainly still getting funding to be developed, is still looking like it's going to come and become something that will create jobs and opportunities, but it's probably a much longer trajectory. It's not a 2-3 year plan, it's maybe a 5, 7, 10 year plan as to when that plays out. But supplementary to that, your green industrialization is starting to become a bit more of a story.
Yeah, that was Angelique Peak, RMB's oil and gas lead in Namibia. Let's move off the assets and the opportunities, Crystal, and look at some of the problems. Namibia has significant unemployment. Is part of the conversation about how they can use these opportunities to actually start making a dent in a number that's, by a wide consensus, much too high?
Yes, John, and we look at it's a small country, less than 3 million people, and Namibia, in terms of its stats, tells us that there's about 36.9% unemployment rate, and it's within a labor force, John, of under 1 million. So that's a high number. And then we look at youth unemployment between the ages of 15 to 24, also about 44%. So really, we are told it's one of the highest unemployment rates in sub-Saharan Africa. So you can imagine this is giving the ruling party and the president in particular sleepless nights. And she recently, the president addressed the Namibia International Energy Conference, and she made it very clear that in order for all these companies to come in, there has to be jobs on the table. And so there's been a big focus because she's saying that she wants radical shifts, and here she wants companies to put money on the table around apprenticeship programs because she sees youth unemployment as that big stumbling block, and she wants other practical solutions like a big investment in education. Now, the reality is, John, with findings that we see now, oil and gas, green hydrogen, their own critical minerals that they have, it is, of course, you need a skilled workforce for this. So it's not going to happen overnight. But I think there is a big focus, and I think the president and her government has made it clear to all these international companies coming there that will come and explore that it has to accompany with some level of job. So we'll have to wait and see, but it's clearly a very big focus, at least from government side. And we also heard Angelique Peak, she emphasized that even from the private sector, they know that for Namibia to succeed, they have to deal with this 36.9 unemployment rate that they have in the country, John.
And unemployment, obviously a big problem on the continent in a number of countries, but the other huge issue that we face, exacerbated, of course, by the conflict in the Gulf, Crystal, is actually getting fuel into this region and leaving, if possible, making us less dependent on countries that have to pass their oil through the Strait of Hormuz. I believe the Nigerian industrial giant Aliko Dangote is having conversations about Namibia to do what exactly in regard to the problem I've just spelt out?
Yes, John. So his company, Dangote Petroleum Refinery, plans to construct a large-scale fuel storage facility in Walvis Bay with what they say a capacity of 1.6 million barrels. So what we see, he's announced this plan of a 2,000 kilometer fuel pipeline from Walvis Bay through to Botswana, to Bulawayo in Zimbabwe. He's already working with the African Export and Import Bank. They've set up a $3 billion facility. And of course, it's also got to do with promoting intra-Africa trade, John, because as you pointed out, we know that the crisis in the Gulf is impacting Africa, and it's impacting landlocked countries in particular. And so what we see, they plan to have these Namibian storage aims to facilitate fuel distribution to Botswana, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Namibia, and parts of the DRC. And what we do know, John, Dangote doesn't play around. When he says he's going to do something, he puts money on the table. He's able to raise money from different local and international banks. And so we see again here, one mission that he's got is promoting this intra-Africa trade, and Walvis Bay is going to be that place, John.
Yeah, really interesting stuff happening in Namibia. Thank you, Crystal Alderson. Crystal back with us next week. And of course, she's regularly on with Bongani Bingwa as well. By the way, if you live in Namibia and you're listening, if you've worked in Namibia and you have some thoughts on everything Crystal has been talking about, or perhaps you're doing business in that country now, I'd love to get your thoughts and get your take. I've been there very briefly for work, and I have to say I have no real sense of the dynamism of the country, but clearly there's a lot more to know. So if you can add to those insights, please do on 072 702 1702. To watch the in-depth R&B Africa Focus video series with new episodes released weekly, go to primemediaplus.com. Brought to you by RMB, a leading African corporate and investment bank. RMB is a leading African corporate and investment bank with a strong presence across the continent and in key international markets. By combining deep local insight with global expertise, RMB supports clients across sectors, helping them navigate complexity, manage risk, and unlock opportunity. With teams on the ground in Africa and beyond, RMB connects markets, capital, and ideas to drive sustainable growth. RMB, a division of FirstRand Bank Limited, is an authorized FSP and credit provider. 702 Drive, it's 5 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Safety concerns spark yet another vehicle recall. An alleged Usindiso building arsonist confident he will walk free. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. We begin with news just in. The National Consumer Commission has announced another vehicle recall, this time affecting over 400 Jeep Grand Cherokee and Jeep Wrangler vehicles. The NCC says it was notified by the supplier, Stellantis South Africa, that the vehicles may have various defects that could compromise safety. In the Jeep Grand Cherokee vehicles sold in 2023, the issue relates to the seatbelt warning indicator. The Commission says the Jeep Wrangler vehicles that were sold between 2022 and 2024 have an issue with the instrument panel cluster, which may result in important driving information not being displayed. NCC spokesperson Peto Ntaba.
We say to owners, do take your vehicle back to the point of purchase or to any authorized Jeep for a full assessment. And where your car needs to be fixed, they are going to carry those fixes at no cost to you as a consumer.
Alleged Usindiso building arsonist Thembiso Mdlalose says he is confident he will be acquitted of arson charges. Mdlalose, who previously confessed to starting the deadly blaze that claimed the lives of 76 people in the Johannesburg CBD in 2023, appeared in court today for judgment. Although the judgment has been postponed to next month, Mdlalose told journalists he believes he will walk free. He says he is confident his arguments presented during the trial was strong enough.
100%. Yeah, I'm confident in my legal counsel. I believe we've done everything that we've done. So we've done all our best in doing actually cross-examination. So I believe, Thank you.
KwaZulu-Natal police have dispersed a group of protesting migrants who had blocked entry to the Durban Central Police Station demanding protection today. The protesters, made up of spaza shop owners from across Durban, say they fear for their lives in an atmosphere of sporadic demonstrations targeting undocumented migrants. They visited the police station yesterday asking for shelter and were then given space to camp at Hoy Park. But today they forcibly prevented entry to the police station, saying they want police protection. Police spokesperson Robert Nechiwunda.
Then it reached a point where they were rebellious and they were saying that they were to die in the hands of the police. They're not going anywhere. And as the police were to use minimum legal force to remove them from the station.
Nechiwunda says the protest outside the police station also disrupted daily operations.
And there were people who turned back, thinking that police are under fire or the station is not accessible. But it's not the case.
In the Western Cape, residents of Spooky's Town informal settlement in Rawsonville are calling on the Breda Valley municipality to relocate them to safer ground after floods destroyed homes and damaged belongings. The settlement, built along a riverbank, was badly affected when the river burst its banks during last week's severe storm. Several farms nearby were also flooded, prompting the rescue of 23 people who were stranded on rooftops. Ntutuzelo Nene reports.
Residents here say the area floods regularly and that they have repeatedly asked the municipality to move them to vacant land that is not flood prone. Johannes van Veek says he has lived in the settlement for more than 20 years and claims residents' pleas have been ignored for decades.
There is ground in front, there by Yellow Camp. We can go there after 1 year or maybe 6 months. We can start building our own houses there. And there's never wet. The rain was falling a lot, but there is dry.
The municipality says it is looking into the possibilities of providing safer living spaces for communities living along riverbanks. Ndutuzelo Nene, Eyewitness News in Rawsonville.
And the European Parliament has approved a corresponding draft for stricter import rules on foreign steel to protect the industry from cheap Chinese exports. The measure will almost halve the current duty-free quotas for steel imports. According to reports, duties of 50% will be levied on steel outside the quotas. These duties currently amount to 25%. The new rules are due to come into force on the 1st of July after EU states give their final green light. Gold is trading at $4,543.98 an ounce. The rand is at 16.69 to the dollar, 22.33 to the pound, 19.31 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $110.35 a barrel.
Northcliffe, you can expect about a 20-minute delay on Bears No Deer between Judges and the N1, while in Ekurhuleni Benoni, traffic is crawling on Atlas Road approaching the N12, and in Boksburg traveling towards Brakpan, expect about a 20-minute delay. N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to roadworks.
And in your sport, 2 Premier League fixtures this evening, which could affect the top and the bottom of the table. Man City, the title challengers, head to Bournemouth, while Spurs look for safety as they face off at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. And a legendary long-distance runner touches down in South Africa ahead of this weekend's Cape Town Marathon.
A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg drops to overnight lows of 10 degrees, peaking at 18. Pretoria 12 and 18, and Vereniging 6 and 17 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the National Consumer Commission has announced yet another vehicle recall, this time affecting over 400 Jeep Grand Cherokee and Jeep Wrangler vehicles.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
On Sunday, 26 July, 7:02 Josie My Josie Walk the Talk unites us all in the iconic Joburg CBD. 7:02 Walk the Talk. Abize bonke. Enter now on primemediaplus.com.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive. Good to have you with us for the final hour of the show. Hope you've had a decent Tuesday. Some of you, of course, may well still be working. Some of you may be only heading out to work right now. I have a couple of colleagues who fit exactly that description. Either way, we've got some interesting stuff for you. Coming up shortly, we're going to be talking to Professor Helen Rees in South Africa. She's the Executive Director of the Wits Rural Reproductive Health Institute at Wits University. But she is also very much involved with the World Health Organization in responding to the Ebola virus. And it's about that virus that we're going to be talking to her. The numbers of people getting infected and the numbers of people dying are significant. The WHO has indicated that this is a matter of significant concern. So how should we be viewing this from South Africa? What we've learned, of course, over the years is things happening in terms of health crises in one part of the world should be understood in terms of the extent to which they can maybe reach other parts of the world. but it's a great concern for the African continent in general. Prof. Rees joining us in 4 or 5 minutes' time. We've been asking you, speaking of health, about doctors, relationships with doctors. Maybe you're a doctor and the relationship you have with patients, and it's because today's World Family Doctor Day. And I've been interested to know, first of all, whether your experience with doctors has changed over the passage of your life. Family doctors, perhaps more common when you were younger. And maybe you've also changed your views as to what it is that you actually want to get from an interaction with a medical professional. Just straight advice, very clear professional assistance, or are you looking for more of the personal touch as well? Doctors, feel free to call in and tell us what's changed for you as you've gone about doing your job and helping people. We'd like to hear from all of you, your stories, please, on 072 702 1702. In fact, got a couple of your stories right now.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Good afternoon, Dr. John and team. Yeah, with the issue of doctors or family doctors, I've got one, Dr. James, and how I met Dr. James, he actually changed my life. After a series of tests that were conducted, he told me point blank, your liver cannot handle alcohol. You need to stop drinking. And ever since, it's 3 years now, and I've never touched. And thanks to him, I'm living a healthy life now. And every time I go to that practice, I always ask for Dr. James. Thanks for the nice show.
Talking about doctors, my house doctor is the best human being I have met in a very long time. He is fantastic. And it's such a lovely relationship because I feel very comfortable to tell him how I'm feeling. It's, for me, if I can't talk to you, then obviously it's not a fruitful relationship for me. I'm just giving you money and I'm leaving. But a doctor like that who takes time to laugh with his patients, to make jokes. I walked in once and he said, "Oh, my favorite cuckoo's patient." And I was like, "Hello, my cuckoo's doctor, how are you?" And it's nice. I don't loathe going to the doctor when I have to. It just makes it easier for me to go and get help when I'm sick. It's nice to laugh even when you're sick.
Yeah, thanks for those. Letsia points out, growing up, we didn't have a doctor. We had Inyanga. Letsia, thank you for that perspective. 702 Drive, it's 11 minutes past 5. I think we should just check up with the traffic. But before we do that, let me remind you what we're going to do in the last half of the show. We always have some music. We play your music. We pick out a theme. We mainly focus on music that kind of reminds you of things or perhaps takes you back to your matric dance or your latest karaoke performance or whatever. But we decided today to recognize the fact that sometimes music can actually ruin your mood. In the case of Kabazela, it happens to be this song. Dochi will be devastated to hear that. That's the number called Anxiety. Songs that ruin your mood. Start sending them to us on 072 702 1702. I must warn you, if you send it to us, we might play it. But that would be a good way of testing whether it still ruins your mood or maybe you're becoming friends. 13 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Problems are in Northcliffe. Karabo Charlie joins us with the details.
Yeah, if you are leaving the Northcliffe area heading towards the N1, there's about a 20-minute delay on Beyers Naudé between Judges and the N1. Fairlands also, there's a traffic pressure on the N1 South. That's heading towards Soweto between Beyers Naudé and 14th Avenue. In Ekurhuleni Benoni, traffic remains slow. This is on Atlas Road approaching the N12. Boksburg also expect about a 20-minute delay heading towards Brakpan on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to ongoing roadworks in the city of Tshwane. Waterkloof expect about a 30-minute delay heading towards Linwood. This is on the N1 northbound from the R21 Flying Saucer interchange all the way to Sturmville. While in Onderstepoort, roadwork still slowing down traffic N4 eastbound between Roslyn and Bravery Road. Finally, Hermanstad leaving the Pretoria CBD. Bumper-to-bumper traffic on Eskiam Patlele between Van der Hof and the R80. For the latest traffic updates, you can also follow us on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsmen can't help your child with geometry, but they can help you arrive at the tutor on time. Seeing them on your route just makes you feel better. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so everyone gets where they need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using #PointsmenLove, licensed insurer and FSP.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes on 702.
My show is about your money, and it's about how people have made their money. But it's also about what happened to your money today, what happened on the JSE, what's happening overseas. All of these things, all about the way in which people make their money, spend their money, use their money, and in so many ways, use their money to make more money for them. What I absolutely love about the 702 family and 702 land is the huge warmth of people, the generosity that they show. But I also absolutely love the hustle. Anyone in business is actually trying to improve the economy. They're trying to have an impact on all of us. And there's a go-getting attitude to 702 land that you don't see in so many other places. That's what I really love about 702 land. That getting together and doing something new, and in the process, making money.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes. Weekdays from 6 to 8 p.m.
That's Kefense, before she got naked. Kefense's premium went up twice last year, and she was more confused than when her ex said, "I need to find myself," and then found somebody else. So Kefense got naked. She got comprehensive car insurance and a way lower premium in seconds on the Naked app. Good for you, Kefense. Get a car and home insurance quote now at naked.insure and see how much you can save when you get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
Managing your workforce shouldn't be complicated. That's why businesses choose Onacy, a proudly South African cloud-based payroll and HR solution. From payroll and e-recruitment to performance management and self-service tools, we streamline the way businesses handle their people. Scalable, secure, and always online, our system evolves with your needs because your workforce deserves the best. Switch to Onacy and experience payroll and HR done right. Visit onacy.com today.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports, no more disconnected systems, no more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. ISTRATGO.com.
If you're a fan of the beautiful game, you'll recognize this. And this. But what about this? It's your chance to score big time. Win your share of up to 2 million rand with Standard Bank. It's game day every day. To enter, open and use any qualifying Standard Bank account, in-app or in branch. Already a Standard Bank customer? Sign up for Standard Bank Connect online to get a bonus entry. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Well, let's focus now on something that is of significant concern in areas like the Democratic Republic of Congo, for example, the Ebola outbreak, which has killed at least 131 people in that part of Africa and may be spreading faster than originally thought. Let's welcome to the show Professor Helen Rees, who is Executive Director at the Reproductive Health Institute at Wits University. Prof, welcome and thanks very much for giving us your time today. Just to set the scene, let's hear from the World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom, and then we'll talk about what he had to say.
Early on Sunday, I declared a public health emergency of international concern over an epidemic of Ebola disease in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda.
So, Prof, first off, I mean, a public epidemic of international concern. What does that actually mean, both in terms of its implications, but also things that might need doing by the WHO and others?
No, thank you, John, and good afternoon to you and the listeners. So what it stands for is a public health emergency of international concern. The World Health Organization has a tool which the member states have signed up to, which are called international health regulations. Now, when there is an outbreak like this, and obviously around the world there are outbreaks of different things all the time, but when there is something that people consider to be much more significant and much more of a threat, what happens is that the WHO convenes an emergency committee of experts, and they decide whether, in fact, this is an international concern. If they say yes, then this declaration is made, and a whole lot of things then kick in. WHO and, in this case, groups like Africa CDC will then spring into action. They've probably sprung into action even before this declaration. And things like rapid response teams, ensuring that protective gear is made available, that the surveillance is improved, that labs are improved. A whole series of things then kick in because it's seen as a potentially a global threat, but certainly in this case a regional threat.
So in terms of Ebola and the way it spreads, it's obviously, I hope I'm right in my conclusion, it's certainly not as spreadable in terms of creating a pandemic the way the way COVID was. Nevertheless, it can be spread in quite a number of ways. I mean, we're a long way from the DRC in South Africa, but I would have thought that given international travel and the way people move around, the concept of a long way away is very, very different to what it might have been 50 years ago.
Yes, that's true. And in fact, the Africa CDC, in addition to this global announcement from the WHO, the Africa CDC has also announced a public health emergency for continental security. So the fact is that we are on the same continent, albeit that we're far away. But you're quite right. This isn't spread as a respiratory virus in the same way that we all saw COVID or influenza is spread. This is spread through contact, and usually close contact within the home, healthcare workers, etc. But it can be contact from sheets, bed sheets from patients. So there are a number of ways in which it's spread, but it's not as what we call transmissible from human to human as the respiratory viruses. But the concern here is that, first of all, because it's taking place in quite a difficult area to access, there's conflict, it's difficult. So it probably was going on before this emergency was announced, and it wasn't noticed because surveillance facilities, etc., are not strong in those areas, and it's difficult to contact there. But now it's being looked at. There is a concern that we are seeing spread. We think the initial spread might have occurred around a funeral, where funeral traditions were, including touching, occurred. But there is a concern that this is spreading quite rapidly, and there have been 2 cases as well in Uganda. And you're right, air travel is always a concern, but in this case, this is something that's transmitted from human to human contact.
In terms of, I know that you engage with the WHO on this particular issue. I mean, what are they doing now, and what do they suggest might need to happen moving forward? Because initial stages, but nevertheless, the death toll is already very, very high. I would have thought some things have to be done quickly. What are those things?
Well, so far, there's been an emergency mobilization response, which includes putting teams of experts in to treat people, setting up safe treatment centers, engaging communities. Communities in that part of the world don't really trust authorities because there's been conflict there for a long time. And then what we call infection prevention and control, which is where we send in, and you saw it in COVID, protective gear for healthcare workers and instructions on how to clean things, surveillance, enhancing the lab capacity so that we can actually make the diagnosis. And now, of course, a very important thing is tracing the contacts of people who have been diagnosed with the infection.
How much more difficult has this been made by the many changes that have gone on in the United States under the Trump administration? Obviously, there's a huge repository of scientific and medical expertise in the United States. When Elon Musk was running the Department of Government Efficiency, there were major cuts made to USAID work in regard to Ebola prevention. Are we over that hump? Are we through that ditch?
No, sadly not. But fortunately, there are still a lot of experts in the world, including in the African region, who can respond to something like this, both from the sort of laboratory and the epidemiology, the clinical side of things. But sadly, we're not over that. And I think that this is a real concern, because we are seeing globally that infectious disease outbreaks are becoming more frequent and more consequential in terms of their impact on individual mortality, people dying, people getting very, very sick, impacts on the economy, and impacts on travel. So we are seeing that this is a growing problem. So it is extremely important that we don't close that door to multilateralism, that we all countries, including the United States, must work together, because this is a growing trend and a growing concern.
What does South Africa do? Just watch and wait, or is there a role for us to play in maybe not necessarily some decisions that need making yet, but possibly conversations about if decisions have to be made, what needs weighing up?
Yes, and each country has a plan to respond to emergencies like this. And the plan, what we call the International Health Regulations, the instructions on what to do, have been strengthened globally since the COVID pandemic. So South Africa has a plan. And in fact, we used that plan when we had the recent Mpox outbreak. So we had what's called a national, what we call an incident management team, a group of experts, plus all the provinces, plus everyone in the department who are responding to that Mpox outbreak. So in the event that we have an outbreak or we have a threat, we can immediately activate that emergency response. At this stage, we're, as you say, this isn't highly transmissible, but we are watching clearly, and clearly the National Institute of Communicable Diseases is very alert to this, and will be, our surveillance will be there in case we see any cases that might have had contact, might have come from the region, that have suggestive symptoms. But at the moment, it's really watch and see. But just because we are in the region, and we do have, for example, the mining industry has interests in the DRC, and people do travel. So we do need to think about what sort of surveillance we need to have, and certainly that thinking is ongoing. But at the moment, there is no emergency required for South Africa.
Thank you so much, Professor Helen Rees, Executive Director at the Wits Reproductive Health Institute, but also someone with a very keen eye on what's happening with Ebola in the DRC, mainly Uganda as well, although I think there's a case of an American who has now moved to the US or is on his way to Germany. I wasn't entirely clear about that, but thank you, Prof. Rees, just explaining quite a few central things around that particular health difficulty on our own continent. 27 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you once again. Markets, and the Money Show coming up at 6.
Yeah, indeed. Good afternoon to you, John. I mean, obviously, oil prices are still the big issue, and that's what's really having a bit of an impact. And the fact that oil prices are creeping again above $110 a barrel, pushing many of the indices down. U.S. Treasury bonds have increased their yields again. They're down there too. Inflation fears beginning to take hold in much of the economy. The global economy, that should be, I should say. The JSE All Share down 1.1% on the day, 113,654. And I think as gold was creeping up, the pressure on the JSE just grew, and particularly because platinum and gold prices were down. Financials down 0.5%, industrials up nearly 1%, but resources down 3.79%. And that's what really dragged things down on the day. So we see Sibanye down nearly 6%, Anglo Gold down 5.3%, Goldfields, Implats Anglo, Northern, all of them down significantly. We Buy Cars down 4% on the day. Yesterday, you'll remember, they have 6-month interim results pointing to the fact that while their volumes were slightly up, basically there'd been second-hand car price deflation, and that was putting them under pressure. They had flagged that. They were up yesterday, but they've given up a lot of that now. Boxer down 7.49% after that accelerated book build overnight, where Pick n Pay sold the 11.5% of the shares in Boxer that they held. It now only owns around 54%. Pick n Pay was also down, being read as a signal that Pick n Pay needed the money, around 4.7 billion rand, to help finance that turnaround. All sorts of issues playing out in Pick n Pay at the moment. The Bytes Group, they're an IT group headquartered in the UK, up 5.8%. Naspers and Prosus both up by around 3.5%. Tungela up 3.6%. Karoo up nearly 3%, and PSG Finance, they're up 2.41% on the day. The hospital group Netcare announcing their executive head for strategy and health policy, Melanie Da Costa. She'll take over as CEO 1st of January. She's a chartered financial analyst. Dr. Richard Friedland is leaving the post as CEO. We did know that that was coming, that had been well flagged, and so that now has essentially basically been confirmed. In the US, markets opening down, so concerns around inflation. The Dow Jones is down 0.34, the Nasdaq is down 1.2, and the S&P 500 is down 0.76. And I've just done a quick look at SENS, the Stock Exchange News Service again. A very brief comment from the city of Ekurhuleni in the last few minutes saying, note holders are advised that GCR Ratings has confirmed the national scale long and short-term issuer ratings assigned to the city of Ekurhuleni have been revised to negative. We've seen several issues around our municipalities. Don't forget, trading in the JSE in the city of Joburg's bonds are still suspended on the JSE because we still don't have a full financial report. We're looking at the gold price at the moment. It's down to $4,491.51. Platinum, $1,930.11. Brent crude, $110.29. The rand to the dollar, 16.74, John. A bit weaker, I'm afraid. To the euro, 19.40. To the British pound, 22.41. On the Money Show, the latest on the turnaround at Pick n Pay after that book build last night. I don't know if you've been following all the talk in the US about a new AI model that can actually find almost any vulnerability in any system. And we'll talk about what our banks are doing around that tonight. I mean, if you really want to lose sleep tonight, you want to listen to the Money Show. We'll talk about track and trace for cigarettes, and we'll also talk about the new tariffs on ITAC, on steel as well. And then, in personal finance, in terms of money, should you send your child to a private school or a government school, and what the longer-term consequences of both of those choices will be. Warren Ingram did relationships last week. Okay. Now he's doing this. I mean, he's a braver man than me, John, I've got to tell you. Stephen Grootes, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. A fascinating debate there, and Warren Ingram, always excellent at teasing out all the issues. Don't miss the Money Show's 6 to 8, 28 minutes to 6. Right, let's get the very latest eyewitness news with Mbali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Anti-apartheid activist Reverend Frank Chikane has told the TRC Cases Inquiry that a former apartheid police minister approached him with regards to his poisoning, desperate to keep their foot soldiers out of jail. Chikane has been testifying before the inquiry today, with his poisoning and the alleged cover-up of that crime taking centre stage. The commission, led by retired Judge Sisiga Mbebe, is probing delays in prosecuting apartheid-era crimes. Chikane survived a poisoning in 1989 while in Namibia, where his clothes were laced with a deadly nerve agent intended to induce a heart attack. Dimakato Leshoro reports.
Giving his evidence in chief, Reverend Frank Chikane has told the TRC Cases Inquiry that he endured severe trauma following torture and an attempt on his life where his clothes were laced with poison by apartheid-era security operatives. Chikane says he survived only because of his role at the time as Secretary General of the ACC.
I would have died in Namibia. What they didn't calculate is that we're going to stop and have breakfast and delayed, whilst that chemical is working on you, delayed arriving where they thought I would die.
He told the inquiry that as he began digging for information and trying to piece together the tapestry of how he was poisoned, it became clear that former apartheid police officials were primarily focused on protecting their subordinates from prison. Dimakazo Leshoro, Eyewitness News in Newtown, Johannesburg.
Veteran musician and music producer Oscar Mlongwa, popularly known as Oskido, says more investment is needed in South Africa's music scene as the industry grows at a global level. The multi-talented DJ, singer and producer has been awarded the Silver Order of Ikamanga for his contribution to South African music. The National Orders Award ceremony took place at the Sefako Makgatho Presidential Guest House in Pretoria today. Oskido says the arts sector needs more recognition.
We are in the new era of the music industry, so therefore we need to open our ears, eyes, and then we learn, and then we educate each other on this new process. And with the music industry, fine, we're doing well. Amapiano, now they've really made it international. If you can look at now the Afro house scene, it's huge at the moment. So yeah, we're in a good space.
And Chinese authorities are evacuating thousands of people from flood-affected areas. This comes as severe rainfall in southern and central China killed at least 8 people in the recent days. According to reports, landslides have submerged houses and damaged some roads. Scientists have warned that the intensity and frequency of global extreme weather events will increase as the planet continues to heat up because of fossil fuel emissions. A partly cloudy Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 6 and 12 degrees and highs of between 17 and 18 degrees.
Northcliffe, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on Beyers Naudé between Judges on the N1 Fairlands heading towards Soweto. There's a bumper-to-bumper traffic. N1 southbound from Beyers Naudé to 14th Avenue, and in Boksburg traveling towards Brakpan, expect about a 20-minute delay on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to ongoing roadworks.
The top story in EWN, anti-apartheid activist Reverend Frank Chikane has told the TRC Cases Inquiry that a former apartheid police minister approached him with regards to his poisoning, desperate to keep their foot soldiers out of jail.
The Clement Manyatela Show on 702.
The Clement Manyatela Show is about everything. It's about current affairs, family matters, the work environment, your health and wellness, relationship and sex issues that couples face. It's about learning, helping each other, healing, teaching. It's about life in essence. What I like about the 702 family and 702 land is that we are quite intentional about doing life together. We're always pulling through for each other, learning from each other, always teaching each other. We're not scared to disagree, but also we're brave enough to be vulnerable with each other. We just care about each other, and I think that is priceless.
The Clement Manyatela Show, weekdays from 9 to 12 p.m.
Did you know that you are entitled to buy a new, demo, or used car without a service or a maintenance plan? You can also use an independent workshop for all servicing and maintenance needs without your warranty being automatically voided. Independent workshops are entitled to all technical info and parts needed to work on your vehicle, so you can shop around for the best price and service. Right to Repair. It's your choice. Visit righttorepair.org.za.
The Wits School of Governance develops leaders and innovators, those who reimagine governance, strengthen institutions, and drive inclusive growth. Apply now for postgraduate diplomas, masters, PhD programs, and executive education. We equip change makers to lead boldly and with purpose. Governance matters. Choose WSG to shape the future. Visit wsg.ac.za before 31st May.
Welcome to Nando's Taste-Demonials. Real reviews by real people. Today's testimonial comes from Jeff in Kempton Park. Now, Jeff seems to be a man of very few words. We've asked him to use his few words to tell us what he thinks of our flame-grilled peri-peri full chicken with any 2 sharing sides for $2.83. Jeff?
Nice.
Well, there you have it. When the meal is such a mouthful, you really only need a few words, I guess. Nando's. Oh, what a place.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
the increase in chicken imports. They were up by nearly 40%, and even that didn't seem to affect you.
We should bear in mind that in July, August last year, the Brazilian industry was unable to export to South Africa because of their bird flu. There was some catch-up, and that falls into the 6-month period that we reviewed. So Brazilian exports resumed to South Africa, and there was quite a lot of chicken that came in.
Gary Arnold, the CEO at Astral.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Curtis is brought to you by Absa Business Banking, featuring the AgriTrends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. Get the latest AgriTrends report at absaagritrends.co.za. Absa is a registered FSP.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Thanks for the great show. Good evening. Talking about family doctors, I just discovered that my family doctor, who used to consult here in Lindes, Johannesburg, Dr. Dave Kaplan, passed away in 2024. He was a very, very good doctor. I don't think I'll ever get a better doctor. He was very good. He could laugh, talk about soccer, Pirates, Kaizer Chiefs. He was always aware of what's happening with everything. May his soul rest in peace, Mr. Dave. Thank you. It's Petson here.
Hi, John, in the 702 Landers. My experience. When I was growing up, we did have a family doctor, and then he was good to us. And then as I grew older, my interaction with doctors. There were 2 seasoned doctors that saw me in a space of 5 weeks, and both of them could not diagnose that I had contracted TB, even though I've explained that I was working in mining settlement and I was coughing. I was only coughing, and I had a very sharp shoulder back pain. So ever since, I just prefer nurses, honestly. But I think I'll get over it. Mustn't paint us, everyone with the same brush. Thank you.
Hi, John. Our family doctor was a real friend and family doctor. He attended me through many bouts of tonsillitis. He was present at my father's deathbed, came to my father's funeral. My mother knitted him a jersey as he attended her in her aged years, and after she passed away as well. Our family doctor was actually your father, John. This is Jo.
Oh, thank you. I wish you described the jersey. I'll see if I can remember it, but thank you. Nice memories there. Anissa, from a doctor's perspective, says this. As a doctor, I feel that the corporatization of healthcare will change doctoring forever, and there seems no way out. I mean, Anissa raising an issue that we can actually perhaps talk about in another way, not necessarily getting your calls and everything, but actually bringing in people. Is medicine becoming corporatized at the expense, Anissa would seem to be saying, of the doctors as well? Very different issue raised by Salome, who says, why do we include 15-year-olds when we talk about the youth unemployment rate? Aren't they supposed to still be at school? Well, the education rules actually say learners must stay in school at least until they reach the age of 15 or finish grade 9. So that's why they're in the stats, even if they are not in school. It's worrying. It's a very young age to be out of school and, either through circumstance or choice, feeling that you've concluded that particular part of your learning. 18 minutes to 6.
EWN Sport.
Right, let's get the very latest sport from Anthony Teixeira. We've been talking about cricket ticket prices. Anthony, a little further into his report, has got something about the Rugby World Cup coming up sometime next year. But before that, Premier League football.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. That's right. There's 2 Premier League fixtures this evening left to be played in the penultimate match day of the season. Man City heading to Bournemouth, and a win would keep their title hopes alive until the last day of the season after Arsenal opened up a 5-point lead at the top. The Cherries have their own hopes on the line with a potential spot in the UEFA Champions League, although the side would secure some kind of European football next term if they pick up a point. Manager Andoni Iraola says they want to make the most of their chance.
We are really close, but there is a big difference being really close and getting it and grabbing it. And
we are in this moment where we have to do this final step. It's true that we have two chances, but we want to do it tomorrow. We don't want to arrive to the last day. If we have to arrive, we will, but we definitely prefer to grab the chance tomorrow.
At the opposite end of the table, Spurs will be on the hunt for survival as they head to Chelsea. Some Blues players might be wanting to show off for incoming manager Xabi Alonso as well. The earliest of those games will kick off at 8:30. In rugby, we're 500 days out from the 2027 Rugby World Cup and ticket applications have opened. It's also meant that we've had some insight into pricing, with the Australian event looking to be the most expensive. In fact, if the Springboks were to make the final to defend their title, top price tickets would cost around 1,950 Australian dollars, or around 23,000 rand. And legendary long-distance runner Eliud Kipchoge has arrived on South African shores ahead of the weekend's Cape Town Marathon. It'll be a first stop on his global initiative, Eliud's Running World, that will see him run marathons across all 7 continents. The Olympic gold medalist opened up about his ambitions for the Cape Town Marathon.
My huge ambition is to see people running. My huge ambition is to make South Africans get out of their doors and run. The second is that I want to make South Africa a running nation. I know South Africa is a really sporting nation, but I want to make more and more the South Africans to run.
Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Problems in Northcliffe earlier. Seems like we've still got problems in Northcliffe. Bravo, Charlie.
Yeah, John, I'm afraid we still, the delays have escalated to now 30 minutes in the Northcliffe area on Beyers Nordia. This is between Judges and the N1. While in Fairlands, traffic remains heavily backed up. That's heading towards Soweto, N1 South, from Beyers Nordia to 14th Avenue. In Melrose, heading towards Midrand, traffic congested, M1 northbound between Ethel, Oakland and the Batlu interchange. While in Ekurhuleni, Benoni, slow-moving traffic on Atlas Road approaching the N12. Boksburg, traveling towards Brakpan, you can also expect about a 30-minute delay. This is on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City due to ongoing roadworks. In Waterkloof, Pretoria, there's more than a 30-minute delay. This is heading towards Linwood on the N1 northbound between the R21 Flying Saucer interchange and Sturmville. If you're leaving the Pretoria CBD, in Hermanstad, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Eskiam Pashele between Van der Hof and the R80. If you come across any other traffic issues, kindly WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Things people stress about in traffic. Number 52.
Did the kids actually do their holiday homework, or are they going to make it my homework?
Oh, the drama. Well, with the Outsurance Pointsman on your route, at least the traffic is one less thing to stress about. The Outsurance Pointsmen have been easing traffic congestion so we all get to where we need to be quickly and safely for the past 20 years. With Outsurance, you really always get something out. In partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
The Aubrey Masangu Show on 702.
I cover on my show issues of advisory, whether it is legal matters, whether it is financial matters. I cover day-to-day issues as far as current affairs are concerned. I cover the politics of the day and how we as South Africans are interpreting them. My listener is a curious 702 lander. They want to know what are the backstories, the stories behind what we are hearing on the airwaves. They want to understand what drives the different issues that have us talking. What I love about the 702 family and 702 Land is the fact that we have 702 Landers who are responsive, who are present, who care about their communities and who want to know how they can be a part of the process of making our areas better, but also our country better. And that for me is a great privilege. I am totally indebted to the providence out there to be talking to these people on a daily basis.
The Aubrey Masangu Show, weekdays from 8 to midnight.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Okay, music that can Ruin your mood. I mean, ruin your mood might be putting it a little bit strongly because maybe it just irritates you. But I guess if you get irritated often enough and for long enough, it would be fair to say it ruins your mood. Now, we've been... And I must commend you, Kabazela, because here's the song that really ruins your mood, but we've been playing it all day. But tell us why this song. I mean, I can't believe it's the worst song you've heard, but it's clearly... Is it like fingernails on a chalkboard annoyance, or what is it?
Yeah, I mean, and this is all personal preference.
Of course.
What annoys me may be somebody's biggest hit or favorite song on their playlist, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's called Anxiety, and the artist is Doechii. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And, I mean, she samples in the beginning. There's a sample of Gotcha, somebody that I used to know.
Okay.
And then she goes into her own thing. So, like, when I first heard it, it got me. And then I was like, but this is not Gotcha. This is something else.
She got you, though.
Exactly. But I think there's so many elements because there's like in one part of the song she'll go brrrap, brrrap, and like
That's
those kind of
annoying.
things maybe just kind of annoy me a little bit. And then the other reason is when this song came out, it kind of got popularized on TikTok.
Mhm.
So everybody's video that they were making on TikTok used this song as a soundtrack to whatever video they were making. So there's a combination of things. It's some of the irritating sounds in the song. And when I hear it, I get instantly irritated. My
Yeah.
anxiety
Yes.
goes up, and then I change the channel.
Well, stay here because we want to see what happens to when the song is
nasty.
playing full ball. And I was about to say to you, well, avoid TikTok, but of course you can't because
No.
what's gone viral, don't miss it, with Bongani Pingwa every single weekday. All right, see if you can sit tight. We'll fasten your seatbelt. Here is Doechii.
Here we go.
Anxiety, keep on trying me. I feel it quietly, trying to silence me. Yeah, my anxiety can't shake it off of me. Somebody's watching me, and my anxiety. Solo, no mojo. I bounce
Songs that ruin your mood, send them our way, please, and we'll make your day even worse by, well, we'll play it, but we'll keep it really, really short, I promise. 702 Drive, it's 9 minutes to 5, the number to use, 072 702 1702.
My life is an X-ray. I'm sorry, a sex tape. You only get one take. Quiet on the set, please.
Aubrey Masango,
Weekday evenings.
8 to midnight.
Buyolwethu Zungula, the Palapala issue. What is it that President Cyril Ramaphosa must answer for?
He must answer for having undeclared dollars to the tune of over 800,000 US dollars. If I can come to your house and I see that you've got large stack of South African rands, I would think that you are involved in criminal activities. Therefore, as South Africans, we need to have that comfort to see that our head of state is not compromised and is not under any other influence.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Let's hear from Al, owner of Johnson's Cable, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
I thought it was going to be difficult to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Switching was so quick and easy. I'm happy with the premium that I'm paying now.
For electrical, tradesman services, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Hi, this is Michael Owen, Hollywood Bets brand ambassador. Being a champion, I know the best performances come from making the right decisions on and off the pitch. Enjoy the game, enjoy the excitement, but play responsibly. Gambling responsibly is about staying in control so you can enjoy it your way. If you or someone you know needs support, help is always available. Call the South African Responsible Gambling toll-free counselling line on 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Okay, so you wanted music that ruins your mood. I would have to say anything by James Blunt. I just can't stand his whiny voice, his icky wicky lyrics, and no, James Blunt just doesn't do it for me.
Life is brilliant. My life is brilliant. My love is pure. I saw an angel, of that I'm sure. She smiled at me on the subway. She was with another man, but I won't lose no sleep on that, 'cause I've got a plan. You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
I mean, there's James Blunt saying you're beautiful, and you say you can't stand him. Songs that ruin your mood. And as Kabazela said, the song that makes me crazy, I'm paraphrasing him now, could be one that somebody else absolutely loves. Now, here's Tebego from Centurion. Evening, John. The one song that ruins my mood is Justin Bieber's Baby. My little sister played that song all day, every day. I guess even a song you like, if it's played all day, every day, might actually turn into something you really can't stand.
You know you love me, I know you care. Just shout whenever, and I'll be there. You want my love, you want my heart, and we will never, ever, ever be apart. Are we an item? Girl, quit playing. We're just friends, what are you saying? Said there's another, and look right in my eyes. My first love broke my heart for the first time, and I was like, baby, 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 oh, like, baby, 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 no, like, baby, 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 oh, thought you'd always be mine, mine, baby, 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 oh, like, baby, 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 no, like, baby, 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 oh, thought you'd always be mine, mine.
Justin Bieber there with Baby. Boy, goodness, we're getting suddenly a flood, and I'm seeing amongst them some songs that I like, but I'm going to keep that to myself.
Of that I'm sure.
Hi, John. The lady that just said James Blunt music doesn't do it for her. I'm telling you, I'm ready to fight her. I'm ready.
John, the song that ruins my mood is that Beyonce song from Cowboy Cut. I don't even know the name of the song, but they used to like playing it on 947. Oh, I hate that song. It is terrible.
This ain't Texas, ain't no hold 'em. So lay your cards down, 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 down. So park your Lexus and throw your keys up. Stick around, round, 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 round. Stick around. And I'll be damned if I can't slow dance with you. Come pour some sugar on me, honey, too. It's a real live boogie and a real live hold down. Don't be a come take it to the floor now. Woo! There's a tornado.
Okay, so that one gets a definite no. Drove me crazy, says the listener. Beyonce. With Texas Hold'em, went to number 1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. The fact that other people liked it doesn't mean it didn't drive you crazy. This one, Afternoon, I Can't Stand Anything by Laura Branigan. My sister always used to play it as hard as possible, and she still does. Here's the bad news, so do we.
Gloria, you're always on the run now, running after somebody. You gotta get him somehow. I think you got to slow down before you start to blow it. I think you're headed for a breakdown, so be careful not to show it. You really don't remember. Was it something that he said? All the voices in your head.
Laura Branigan, all the way back from 1982. That's a lot of years to be annoyed by a song. I'm just working it out. 44 years of your sister blasting you with Gloria. That's all we got time for. And the good news for you, I suppose, is that the song as well will come to an end. Hope you've enjoyed being with us on 702 Drive. We've loved having you. From all of us, have a great Tuesday. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Business Banking, featuring the Agri Trends 2026 Autumn Edition. In agriculture, smart moves need smart insights. We get it. Good evening on your Money Show tonight. Why is Pick n Pay selling some of its shares in Boxer to fund its turnaround, and what should it use the money for?